Howdy.
Howdy to you.
There's sometimes a podcast. How many hosts does a podcast have?
2.
So let's just say I'm hosting this podcast. And if you fix your attitude, you can co host along with me.
Okay.
I want you to go back to work tomorrow. You were recording the podcast anyway, audition many guests for the part. When you see the critic that was shown to you earlier today, you will say, "This is the guest." The rest of the podcast can stay. That is up to you. That guest is not up to you. Now, you will do one more Dune episode if you do good. You will do 2 more Dune episodes if you do bad. Good night. Hey, Pottycast, time to wake up. How was that?
Excellent. That
great.
was incredibly well done. I'm glad we had you meet a cowboy. That was a great accent.
You're tall, but I'm standing in front of you.
It's a podcast.
Welcome to You're Tall, but I'm Standing in Front of You, the podcast where 2 friends circling the drain of academia examine the cultural detritus of the 20th century. I'm Devin.
I'm Ethan.
Well, Ethan, we're back. It's season whatever it is. And, we're here for our first full episode after our Oscars extravaganza last week or so.
Yep.
What was your biggest surprise of the big night, Ethan?
I kudos to Dune 2 sweeping. I was a little surprised, but I thought, well earned. So that made sense that it won every category.
Yeah, well, it was strange because obviously Timmy Chalamet nominated for A Complete Unknown. That seemed like a potential front runner, but it was just strange when they went to announce that award, and a sandworm just kind of emerged from the bottom of the stage and swallowed up pretty much the entire Academy.
Yeah.
And kind of for lack of other options, we had to give it to the portrayal of Paul Atreides.
Yep.
The first performance to ever win 4 Oscars. Pretty crazy.
Yeah. But worth it. And even the performance that he gave, sort of doing the Complete Unknown Paul Atreides mashup with Conan O'Brien, I thought was brilliant. Just sort of brilliant, hilarious, goofy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Anything for you?
I thought it was
similar.
Yeah. Well, I did think Joe Biden getting Best Director seemed inappropriate to me. I don't know.
A
if
new
that
member
was...
of a new member of the industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But speaking of Hollywood, and speaking of the magic of movies and maybe the dark magic of movies, we're joined today by a very special guest, longtime listener and supporter of the pod, Mike Miley. And we're here to talk about someone who, speaking of Dune, is close to our hearts and unfortunately has recently left us, the director David Lynch. Because Mike has written a new book called David Lynch's American Dreamscape, available with Bloomsbury Press. And just to peek behind the curtain, this was planned to be our first episode of the season since the fall, and then unfortunately Lynch left us in January. And so it's a melancholy reason to be revisiting this work, but also I think no never a bad time to be rewatching Mulholland Drive is the movie we're talking about
Yeah.
specifically.
Maybe we have a deadly touch, Devin. So I'm sort of now thinking, who do we really want to do a planned episode about next? Maybe we can have some forces act upon the
Yeah. Well,
universe
it
here.
only
Yeah.
took approximately 48 episodes to get Henry Kissinger. So, I
Yes.
simply, maybe if we should just preemptively start putting people in our Oscars memorial montages. But Mike, why don't you introduce yourself to the listeners and tell them a little about you and a little bit about the book.
Oh yeah, sure. So, Mike Miley, as you said, yeah, longtime listener, first time caller, all of that sort of stuff. But yeah, I live in and around New Orleans and teach at a high school here. And yeah, I'll put in early for. Have you done a Hillbilly Elegy episode yet?
We have actually.
Oh, dang it!
Ugh.
Oh
It
man.
was
Okay.
rough. That was
Yeah.
a rough one.
That kind of backfired. In fact, didn't that guy didn't just die? He seemingly has acquired even more
Yeah, we
power.
accidentally
Yeah,
killed the country
you
with
gave
that
him, yeah,
one.
you gave him the "you're tall" bump.
Yeah.
In the so, but yeah,
Uh,
so the
Yeah, and I mean,
that's a bummer.
we also did hire all those. We had all those people flown in from Germany with fake passports to, voted for him in various swing states. So we maybe shouldn't have done that either. But
Yeah, you guys were playing with fire
yeah,
there.
gotta commit.
Yeah, but yeah, so the book is a study of David Lynch's American films, or at least the ones set in America that looks at the literary and musical influences on his work, sort of the things that are out there in the cultural zeitgeist that his work
mm,
is tuning into or in dialogue with. And so roughly half the book is looking at the literary side, and then the other half is looking at various musical forms that the films are playing around with. And then I guess then the conclusion of the book takes a look at how a writer and a musician do the same thing that Lynch has done with all of the cultural detritus of the 20th century, how they do the same thing with his work in fiction and music.
awesome. Well, I have so many questions. But first off, I think the question that the listeners are most excited about is, what's it like living in the city where the greatest football team of all time, the Philadelphia Eagles, has just like
Oh,
smashed the
right.
evil empire of the Kansas City Chiefs? Like, did you feel it surging through your body, or?
Uh, yes, we felt it deep down in our jambalaya blood. The I thought initially you were going to be talking about the New Orleans Saints Super Bowl victory, but which didn't happen here, happened elsewhere. But the man, I was so ready for that game to be over. The build up in the city to get ready for the game, and I guess backing up. Taylor Swift did like 3 or 4 shows here in late October. And then, so
Mm.
it's basically just been a 6 month or so run toward prepping for uh, Taylor's party and then immediately rolling over into Super Bowl prep and then rolling right into Mardi Gras after that. And
Oh
so
yeah.
it's been a pretty it's I know you were asking sort of a jokey question trying to get me to like praise the Eagles, and I'm not I'm gonna take this seriously. The thing that's been really frustrating is just watching all of the various fixes that the city has been trying to do and the various makeover things that they've been spending money on, rather on of course, as
Mhm.
the city is wont to do for decades, spending all the money on tourism rather than on
Yep.
fixing actual problems in the city.
Mhm.
And the gearing up for the game itself, it was sort of the pinnacle of all of that, because unlike the Taylor Swift show, which some of that I was pleasantly surprised by the vibe in the city. The vibe in the city for the Super Bowl was just uber corporate and
Mhm.
all just completely catering to people not from the city, to the point where I think on the Saturday, the day before the game, I mean, you had all the mega yachts parking in the Mississippi River, which was kind of amazing if you haven't seen pictures of that, like in the Chester Cheetah paddle boat. But um, the the wacky thing was on the Saturday they had like a Mardi Gras parade, but every float had a corporate sponsor, and so it was an interesting
Oh,
preview
yeah.
of what Mardi Gras would be like if some people had their druthers, and it was just given over to complete corporate interests and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I'm happy that the Eagles won. Good for them, but also the best part is that their victory meant that everyone and all of that stuff left, and now
Absolutely.
we
Yeah.
kind of have a bit of our city back to have a Mardi Gras celebration.
Yeah, it is so in a weird way, the Super Bowl is kind of a on the surface it might seem like it's like the anti-Lynch event
Hmm.
aesthetically, right? In terms of like its genre and it's like its tone, right? But on a certain way, it's like the most Lynchian event of all, right? Which is just like this like a city gets this event and then is completely remade to become an image, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Like what's important becomes how does New Orleans look on television
Yeah.
is what matters, right? And how does New Orleans facilitate the production of images, i.e., the floats with the corporate logos on them, right?
Hmm.
And the in Lynchian parlance, right, like the dark underbelly of that is being
Yeah.
pushed out of the image, but also kind of created by the image through its like lack of inclusion, right?
Yeah, well, I think that's it. I mean, yeah, it's turning the city into the opening of Blue Velvet, basically, right before the camera goes under the ground. And maybe what's the most interesting part of that was that little pre-show tribute to the people who lost their lives in the New Year's Day or New Year's Eve terror attack. They closed off Bourbon Street at like 3 in the morning so that they could shoot this performance from Lady Gaga and then like the Fox NFL crew and Pete and Sean Payton and others were kind of walking up to gather around her to play the song from, I think the song from Top Gun Maverick, right? And but what was amazing to me is it's this, kind of family atmosphere. It's a family friendly presentation, but they're doing it on Bourbon Street. In the block of Bourbon Street that they chose to shoot it on, you've got neon signs of, like daiquiri joints and gentlemen's clubs, right? So like even
Mm-hmm.
in the attempt to paper over and sort of Disneyfy the the city for that kind of wholesome image consumption, like there's still like the bugs are still crawling up out of the dirt,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
You can't hide it because the whole, I mean, that's the amazing experiment that people keep trying to make with the city. How do you take a place that's known as a den of vice and disease and sort of make it ready for prime time? And the fact is, you
Yeah.
can't. And but
Hmm.
the great thing is, it's also like nobody really wants it that way anyway. They just give me enough window dressing so that I can
Mm-hmm.
pretend that's what it is. And then the minute that the cameras are off, I'm going right into that daiquiri shop, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Well, I can't wait to see it because I'm of course going to New Orleans. Of course, the listeners don't
Yeah.
know this, but I'm going to New Orleans with my girlfriend Slug next month. Actually, probably right around when this episode is dropping. And I think Mike and I are gonna go check out some jazz while we're there. So can't
Sure.
wait.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Can't wait to get the local treatment and see what
Yeah.
that seedy underbelly is all about.
Well, yeah, and it'll be the weekend after Mardi Gras, so you'll still be like tripping on broken beads in the street and stuff like that. It's gonna be hazardous out there. You'll
Yeah,
need your
yeah.
drive-through daiquiri to just maintain an equilibrium as you walk down the street. Yeah, I mean, you do have to get your driver when you ever get picked up from the airport or whatever. The first stop you have to make is a drive-through daiquiri shop.
Oh,
That's a good
absolutely.
point.
We will
Yeah.
definitely do that.
Yeah.
It's funny. I keep forgetting about that, and like we keep like working on our itinerary, and I'll be like, wait, but do we have enough time to go there for drinks if we need? And then it like Slug has to keep going. Like Devin, we're allowed to like we can bring the drinks with us. We can like
Yes, you
drink it for
can.
free. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, because being we're a podcast of two guys who grew up in Pennsylvania, where it's like buying alcohol they like it's a lot easier than it used to be, but like when we were growing up it was like, oh, Memorial Day's on Monday, make sure to buy your alcohol on Saturday
Right.
because
Yeah.
you literally like can't legally buy alcohol on Sunday because or else people would just be showing up to church and like barfing in the pews, God forbid. um
Yeah, it's I when I moved to Los Angeles after growing up in Louisiana, the first bar we went to, I tried to walk outside with a drink in my hand, and the bounce and it was in a glass, and the bouncer's like, whoa, 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 what the hell are you doing? I was like, oh right, I'm sorry, yeah, just give me a plastic cup. I'm sorry, give me a Go cup. My bad. He's like, no, you dumbass, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm sorry, sir, I'm sorry,
But you
I'm
know,
from
yeah,
Louisiana.
yeah. But speaking of what you were talking about, of like people don't actually really want to address the real problem; they just want to address the surface appearances of it. You know, I was drinking in public all weekend with the Eagles celebrations. And really all they want is the thinnest little layer of brown paper covering
Yeah, give me some
covering
plausible
that can, you
deniability,
know.
right?
It's literally
Yeah.
just like I can't the thing I can't see is the logo actually. The thing
Yeah.
that we usually devote everything in our society to making most prominent has to be hidden.
Nice.
But uh but so I'm obviously a huge Lynch fan. I think the listeners know that. And you know, Lynch makes what movies that they could be described in a number of ways. One of the adjectives I would use is good. So we traditionally have not talked about Lynch much on this podcast. We did, of course, do an episode on his adaptation of Dune. Um, but
Which is good. Which is good.
Yes.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. No, that was the conclusion we came to.
Yep.
But and I'm guessing you don't talk about that one in the book because it's not really set in America.
It is not. So Dune
Yeah.
and the Elephant Man are the two that I don't wind up talking about. And part of the reason is because they're not set in America, and the other part is the they are so closely identified with literary texts that
Of course.
where
Yeah.
what they're in dialogue with is a little more apparent than the other works.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But so Ethan, though, you hadn't really seen much Lynch, right? I know when we did our Dune episode, I think that was like your first real experience with him.
Yeah, well, I had seen Dune growing up, and so I was like a fan of that film as a kid, but didn't really associate that with David Lynch as a 10-year-old watching Dune. So yeah, I had it, but Lynch is always sort of, I feel like, in the background of things in larger conversations happening. So I feel like just the sort of aesthetics and like the imagery of things like Twin Peaks, like it's hard to avoid that sort of being in the background. But I hadn't actually seen any of his other films. I still haven't seen Twin Peaks. So not a lot there. And there's and part of the reason why is this, Devin. As I would get older and start to go to school, met you in an undergraduate at Penn State. A lot of folks start talking about David Lynch and how great he is. And here's what worried me about this is because it seemed strikingly similar to a lot of folks where growing up I missed out on this, which was most wannabe edgy kids, white kids about my age. They had all seen Donnie Darko, and everyone was like, Donnie Darko is the greatest piece of film that has ever existed. So being like an 18, 19-year-old, like that's all you would fucking hear in like the late aughts. So I finally watched it when I was like 22, and I was like, meh. The fact that it was just like it was fine, but like I had been told it was this masterpiece. Yeah,
That's a violation. You're supposed to watch that on a PlayStation 2 at a sleepover when you're like 16. Like I actually this is a true story. I bought a used PlayStation 2 on Craigslist, and when I brought it home, it had a DVD of Donnie Darko inside of it that they had forgotten to take out.
See, that's
That's
lore
amazing.
building there.
That's
See,
how you're
perfect.
supposed to watch Donnie Darko.
I agree with you, but that worried me that
Now, was it the director's cut or was it the theatrical cut?
Oh man, that's a good question. I think it was theatrical, but
Okay, good. No, that's an even bigger bonus, right?
Yeah.
No, but Ethan, I think you're right, and that's like that. There's that pressure of the things that you didn't when you haven't gotten around to something that you feel like you should have. Then the fact just piles up more and more. Well, if I watch it now, what if I want to be in the right headspace or whatever? Like, what if it doesn't live up to the hype? I'm going to put it off, and then suddenly you wind up going 15 years and you've never seen any of it, right? Because you're in
Yeah.
part worried about being disappointed, and also just sort of beating yourself up for not having done it yet. And then you go your whole life without doing it all of a sudden, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, we have podcasts that sort of force me to jump on board and start kicking it off. But I know, Devin, you're very different. But
Yeah.
where did this come from? Where did this Lynchian obsession arise?
Oh, just like nothing really that interesting. Just like, the entire reason that my
Right below on your PlayStation when you bought it, right below Donnie Darko was the entire first season of Twin Peaks on DVD.
I
Yeah.
don't remember specifically, but like, it's like I was into film in high school, and then I think Eraserhead was the first one for me because you would hear
Oh
about
wow.
Eraserhead kind of in the like midnight movie context. So when I first came to Eraserhead, I wasn't really realizing it was like the product of this like auteur director that is considered one of the great directors. It was in my head occupying a similar headspace to like Plan 9 from Outer Space and other kinds of like old black and white weird movies I would watch, right? So you start with that, and then you go to college. You're trying to be a cool guy, and some of us become Lynch heads. And the whole reason my Twitter handle is Stale Cooper is in some ways like sort of just mocking the fact of myself that like it's very stale, it's very obvious that I would be the guy that likes David Lynch. There's no secrets here. I like David Lynch. My favorite band is Pavement. My favorite novel is Gravity's Rainbow. I'm not trying to impress anybody with a counterintuitive take here. It's just you look at me, you're like, that's a guy with glasses who like rides his bike to work and he likes the things we'd expect him to like. But my relationship to Lynch, I think, has changed a lot over the years. Like, I think when you're young, you kind of get into him and it's so weird, right? And it's like you kind of have a somewhat ironic relationship to it. Um, and like the thing that I think has most stuck with me as I've, you know, learned more, read more, watched Lynch over and over again is the profound sincerity of the work. The
Mm.
fact that this isn't um like it's not that it's not ironizing, it's not that it's not like engaging in like sort of meta critique of the things it's doing, but there are like really genuine emotions undergirding David Lynch films, and I think really what separates him from a lot of like ostensibly similar artists who are like in a somewhat postmodern fashion, pointing out the artifice of what they're doing. Like he's pointing out the artifice, but he understands that the artifice also has a certain sincerity to it, right?
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
it is the supposed dichotomy between real and fake, or dark and light, or any whatever you would put onto a David Lynch film is always so much more complicated than it first appears. And I think Mike, your book really, from what I've read so far, really gets into that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Nicholas Rhombus lays this out really well in this. He's got this essay called "Blue Velvet Underground" that's about like post-punk poetics in Lynch. It's a great essay. It's in that edited collection, like American Dreams, Nightmare Visions, or something like that, that came out like in the aughts, I think. And he uses this term "sincerity in irony" that gets at exactly what you're saying. That I think a lot of the imitators or who people have been influenced by Lynch, like the way Ethan was saying, you can basically go your whole life without seeing any work by David Lynch and still be inundated with Lynchian things
Yeah,
because like Blade Runner or like The Matrix or other seminal works, the world after that just exists as a world that has been profoundly altered by those works or by this artist. And yeah, like you said, Devin, for him, there is an element of irony to it, but about and pointing out the artifice. But the thing is, he thinks the artifice is beautiful and thinks the
mm-hmm.
artifice is a profound source of meaning and not just something to point out and make fun of. And a lot of
Yeah,
the imitators just go around like pointing at stuff and saying, "Oh wow, look at how weird and fake and creepy that is." And he's much more of that both and sensibility of, yes, that's
absolutely.
true, and I think it's beautiful. And I mean, like he loves Formica countertops, right? And these other sort of things like in diners, and things that we would think are like
Yeah.
completely artificial and inauthentic. And I guess this is sort of setting up some things that we might talk about in Mulholland Drive, which is probably where he articulates some of this stuff the best in that Club Silencio sequence. But it's that just because something is artificial doesn't mean it cannot provoke genuine, deep feeling. And I think it's taken me a while too to see that he is at his core a profoundly sincere artist, and who kind of explodes that whole sincerity irony dyad that the postmodernists like to use to navigate everything.
Yeah. Yeah, so Mike, especially like, growing up in Louisiana, what
Yeah.
led you to David Lynch?
Well, so I was born in 1979 and had parents who let me kind of watch whatever I wanted to watch. And which meant that when I was 5, we went to see Dune. Because I was really
Nice.
enamored with the poster. I thought I still think that poster just rules. And the look of the still suits and all of that kind of stuff. And I was
Hmm.
just like, oh man, what is this movie? I want to see it. And my mom and my aunt took me. And I think when the Baron kills that uh, blonde servant and then like floats in the air and starts like leaking stuff, I just ran screaming. I was like, get me out of here. I think I went back in and watched the movie, and I'd seen the movie several times afterward growing up. I think I saw The Elephant Man like in 6th grade on like AMC or something like that. Or I had like taped it off a TV and then watched it. And then, and that was around the time that Twin Peaks was on TV, I think, or maybe a couple of years after. I was aware of the whole Who Killed Laura Palmer thing, but I never watched the show, but I knew like adults were into it. My folks
Hmm.
weren't really, but uh and then, of course, the I think the way I probably wound up into Lynch was getting into indie film in the early 90s. And you read any article at that time about Reservoir Dogs, they're going to mention Blue Velvet in some way. Um and then getting into like midnight movies and all of that sort of stuff. And so I don't remember the order of Lynch films after that, but I do remember in my junior year of high school, I was by that point very into Lynch and was just trying to see all of the things that I hadn't seen. So at that point, I had probably like I had seen Wild at Heart, I had seen Blue Velvet, but no video stores in Lafayette had a copy of Eraserhead. And the only way you could get your hands on Twin Peaks, they had the first season on VHS. So this is just like 2 or 3 tapes with just the first 7 episodes, and that was it. And so I had seen those, but then the only way to watch the whole series was they had this like 6 cassette um thing that you could like buy at Suncoast in the mall, and it's like $100. And so I like saved up my money and bought the set and spent like every moment, like a whole month of junior year, just working my way through it.
Wow.
And around the same time, the musical we were doing at school was Annie Get Your Gun. And the director of the show wanted to get a copy of the movie to show the cast, but it also you couldn't get it anywhere in town. And I was like, oh, hey, there's this movie rental service in Chicago called Facets Video. They have this big catalog of the movies you can rent from them, and they have it. But the thing is, your first thing you have to rent 3 movies. Um, do you want to rent this movie and then I can just pick 2 movies that I want from it? And that way you can show the cast this movie, and the director's like, "Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, sure." And so that's how I rented. I rented Eraserhead and Repulsion. Those were
Wow.
my other
Brilliant.
2.
And this
I
is
mean,
the
like,
kind of these are the kind of
yeah.
moves that Zoomers can't understand.
No,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, gather round, kids. Yeah, this is the meme where you're like, yeah, sure, grandma, let's get you to bed. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I know that's what I'm doing here, and I kind of love it. But yeah, so I mean, what a double feature, right? I don't know if I watched them
Hmm.
back to back or not, but like Repulsion and Eraserhead, like nightmare fuel double bill. And so that's how I finally saw Eraserhead. And then when I graduated high school in '97, what we did was we did a trip to New York. And they're like, okay, what do you want to do in New York? I'm like, yeah, I want to do the sort of regular stuff, but like, I want to go see movies that aren't playing in Lafayette. And so we got off the train, got to a diner, opened like the Village Voice or whatever, and realized Lost Highway is starting in 30 minutes. And so like we got in a cab, first thing I did in New York City was see Lost Highway. And then had to wait for it to come out
Wow.
on video so that I could show it to all my friends and like stay up till 3 in the morning trying to figure the movie out like every weekend. So and then from there, I guess the other fun story to get us maybe segueing to Mulholland Drive. The first time I saw Mulholland Drive, um, and I guess in between I'd watched the straight story on video and was underwhelmed by it at the time, which I regret tremendously because
Mm-mm.
now I think it's just a great film. But um, I saw Mulholland Drive 2 weeks before it came out in theaters because I was a first year directing fellow at the American Film Institute, and Lynch came to do a screening and talk. And so it's the only time I've been in the
Wow.
same room with David Lynch.
Oh
But
man.
it was, yeah, he showed us Mulholland Drive and talked about it. And like, they let him smoke in the theater, and it was just like the most badass thing ever. And yeah, and so that's sort of, and so from there I kind of was caught up and was like seeing all of them in their original theatrical release because I was living in a city that got David Lynch films in their first run finally. Right,
Yeah.
that's yeah. So that's my that's my long young Xer origin story with David Lynch.
Awesome.
Well, it is such a different experience because I think one thing I've been doing is I've been forcing Devin to watch through Star Trek: The Next Generation,
Oh wow.
presumably to maybe do an episode at some point. And he was like,
Mhm.
I need to start on season one. I'm like, oh, you really shouldn't do that. But he insisted and he powered through it. But, I started realizing he would get to episodes like the best of both worlds. It's like these were like season cliffhangers, but when you're watching them on a streaming service or if you have it just as a downloaded episode, you're just watching the two parts together and it just keeps going on. And I feel like you lose something in that just the medium of how this works these days, where you get that immediate satisfaction of watching the next thing, and it doesn't give you a chance to dwell on what you've just seen. And so I think
Yeah.
that really takes away from just, I don't know, film shows as just a form of art that no one has time to stop and think about it before going on to the next thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I got to cross it off the list and all of that. Yeah, because you power through a season and then it it's over and you can just roll right into the next season. And it's like, wait, that was like they had 6 months of waiting in
Yeah.
between that. And I think it's interesting the way that some streaming services have more or less conceded how stupid the binge model was and have gone to releasing them one at a time. And I mean, of course, you can wait and then binge afterward, but at least in the initial stage, they're kind of admitting that there was
Hmm.
like all of these new media models, they always wind up going back to, oh wow, there kind of was something to the thing we thought we were disrupting and replacing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And I mean even beyond, like, not to sound like an old curmudgeon of like, oh, they release everything all at once, but like even what you were describing with like the experiences of like actually acquiring the VHSs or
Oh
actually
yeah.
being in the right place at the right time to go and see these films. Like I feel like it becomes more integrated with like these very human experiences in a way that I'm not going to remember where or when I sat down and watched season 3 of Game of Thrones. Like it's just sort of like it doesn't. So I feel like there's a disconnect that comes from not having that kind of personal relationship with the media that maybe there was, 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah, and I've joked with students, but I'm not joking really. I think I learned how to do research in trying to find movies and albums and books that I couldn't just
Yeah.
walk into the store and get, right? It's like, well, where is this thing? How can I find it? Who has it? And like keeping track of like, well, this video store has the better foreign section. This video store has a cult movies section, right? I can go here for this and here for that. And I mean, like now it sounds tedious, and I don't necessarily want to sound like, oh yeah, it was so much better than or whatever. But there were some skills that I picked up in that I would not have picked up otherwise, or I would have had to get a very different way. The converse side of it is what you're talking about, Ethan, where like I have this former student who's like this major cinephile at this point, and he has seen way more Asian cinema than I have. And And it's because like I'm like, buddy, like you just have all of these at your fingertips, and I just spent all this like years hearing about these movies, and the moment that they become available, I'm like, I have 3 kids, and I can't watch A Brighter Summer Day. Like I can't just drop 4 hours
Yeah,
and
yeah.
work through this movie. So I can either spend 6 months trying to get to the end of it, or I'm just not going to see it for a while, And meanwhile, he's like, "Oh, you got to see it. It's so good." It's like, I'm sure it is, right? But it's
Yeah.
just give me your lifestyle, and I promise you, I will see it.
Mm.
So let's get into Mulholland Drive. So this comes out in 2001, of course. Um, in my opinion, the best film of the decade and the century, getting taken care of right away. Um, and is weirdly his penultimate feature film, depending on, I mean, I know there's some people that claim that Twin Peaks The Return is a like an 18-hour film conveniently divided into episodes that air once per week, but I think that's a little silly. And then of course he makes Inland Empire in 2006, and then really is kind of in a different sort of space, for the remainder of his career in terms of the kind of projects he's doing. Mike, did you want to kind of take us through just like, and it's a loaded question, but like what exactly happens in Mulholland Drive, or
Yeah,
maybe what Mulholland Drive tells us about the question of what it means for something to happen?
right. Yeah. Well, I guess this is slightly less daunting than the a journal that made me write a synopsis of Lost Highway for an article there, and I was like, oh Jesus. I think this one's some of it's a little more straightforward here, in part because it originally begins as a television pilot for ABC, right? And so the first 2/3 of it are episodic network television kind of in structure.
Yeah.
So I guess it begins with a jitterbug contest, as all good films do. And then we see Naomi Watts getting like crowned as the winner of this jitterbug contest. And then we're suddenly jumping to there's a limo going down Mulholland Drive at night, Mulholland Drive is this road at the top of the Hollywood Hills that separates Hollywood from the valley. So it is this sort of liminal point where you're sort of in between, you're at the peak of Hollywood, but you're also on the precipice of the San Fernando Valley. And there's this stylish woman riding in the back of the limo. The limo stops. She's like, why the hell are we stopping? The driver turns back and points a gun at her. Meanwhile, we're cross-cutting to these like kids joyriding at high speeds down Mulholland Drive. Of course, as all good cross-cutting things go, they're going to meet with this massive collision. Everyone dies except for the posh woman in the back seat, who stumbles out of the car and goes down into Hollywood, right near the AFI, actually, when she kind of comes down, and she goes eventually into this nice apartment that's in West Hollywood, where an older woman is packing up and leaving to go and shoot a film, and she like crawls under the bed and falls asleep.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, at
Sorry,
LA, oh yeah,
if
yeah,
I could just interject. I taught Mulholland Drive once as part of a 20th century American literature
hmm
film course.
yeah,
And I remember I just kind of put random films in there that I was kind of like, oh, this will be interesting to do based on decade. But we ended up doing Kiss Me Deadly
mm-hmm.
in the 50s, Safe from the 90s, and then
Yeah,
Mulholland Drive.
nice.
And my students pointed out at the beginning of the Mulholland Drive class, like that every single film that I had assigned starts with like a long dark
Driving
car
sequence. Yeah.
driving sequence,
Yeah.
usually set to like some kind of like dark, if not synthesized, like otherwise moody music. And it
Yeah.
was an interesting moment of like self psychoanalysis to be, because they were like, oh, it's interesting, you clearly intended to do that. And I was like, I think
Nope.
that's just like my brain's just like, oh baby, cinema, here we
Yeah.
go. Like,
Well, and the music at the beginning of Safe and the music at the beginning of Mulholland Drive are also very similar, kind of
absolutely, yeah.
sonically. Yeah, so meanwhile, we cut to LAX, and Naomi Watts plays this character named Betty, who is flying into the city to because she's just won a jitterbug contest in Deep River, Ontario, and she's coming to LA to pursue acting. And she's talking, I guess she has apparently chatted up this old couple on the plane, and they're like, oh, we'll look for your name in lights or whatever. And like, she gets in the cab to go away. I'm gonna maybe get some of the stuff out of order here, but essentially we'll condense this part first. She gets it turns out the apartment that she is staying in is the older woman's apartment where she's leaving to go make a movie. She goes in, she finds this woman, the posh woman, in the shower when she walks in and is alarmed, asks the woman who she is, and the woman reveals she or realizes she doesn't know who she is. She and then Betty leaves the room and we see this important moment where the posh woman is looking at her reflection in the mirror, and then in the bathroom is a poster of the Rita Hayworth movie Gilda, and she comes out and introduces herself as Rita, and now they look in her purse to try to find out more about her, and it's like the purse is full of money, and they are going to try to figure out what happened at like where she comes from and stuff like that. So they have that investigative thing.
Yeah, and it's maybe worth talking a little bit about like Naomi Watts's vibe in all of this.
Oh yes, okay.
Like, how would you describe, Mike, like the vibe that Naomi Watts is giving us in this performance?
She is starstruck by everything around her, and it is the most underrated performance probably certainly of the aughts, but maybe even more so. But just the way she pulls off this gee golly whiz vibe about everything, and keeps it from teetering over into parody and camp.
Yes,
is remarkable because you're tempted to laugh at her, but the more you watch it, the more you're just like, this is almost she's almost too naive for it to be true, and like it starts the feeling that there's something off happening here.
Yeah, and I think it speaks to like David Lynch, in my opinion, is such an underrated director of actors.
Yeah.
Because since his films highlight artifice so much and they kind of often have this intentionally stilted acting, or intentionally, sort of defamiliarizing acting in some way, a lot of people, I think, take that to mean, oh, it's the actors are kind of just pawns in this directorial vision. But the fact that he's able to so consistently get so many different actors that vary from like someone as prominent as Naomi Watts to sort of non-actors to so perfectly toe this line between realism and surrealism, between sincerity and irony, which as you say, it never tilting too far into parody. I think is such a, and if you watch, like, for example, there's the great behind the scenes documentary of Twin Peaks: The Return. You see that this is no accident because he's like really takes time to like talk through the performances with the actors, and what I think is interesting about his approach is it doesn't, he's not like a method director, he's not really getting into necessarily, oh, here's your emotional state, but it's very much like fine-tuned to each gesture. And you actually see Adam Kesher doing kind of the David Lynch thing in Mulholland Drive when he's directing how to do the kiss. Where he's like, he's thinking so precisely about how, all the different parts of the body are connected and how that will look as an image. And I think he really spends the time making his actors understand what he wants them to do.
Yeah, and just look at how many performers give, if not the best, one of the best performances of their career in a David Lynch film, right? From Dennis Hopper to Cheryl Lee to arguably Nick Cage and Laura Dern, right? Certainly Naomi Watts.
Kyle MacLachlan, of course.
Yeah. I mean, like there's a whole run, and those are just the leads, right? And then you have other actors whose careers are essentially made based upon their performance in a Lynch film. Like, I guess a element of foreboding early in the film that tells us what's to come is that great scene at the diner with Patrick Fischler describing a dream that he's had that is the one of the most memed moments from a David Lynch film, where he's like comes back to relive his dream, and that there's this bad force behind the dumpster, and of course he goes back there and it's got the best jump scare in movies pretty early, like since the shower scene in Psycho, right? It's like the best jump scene that you have there with the creature behind the diner.
My slug said, like, it was funny because I knew that was coming, and she is a very hilariously, like, almost like she's like in an AMC promo reaction to jump scares, where like we saw Megalopolis together, and I can't even remember what it was, something in Megalopolis literally made her like throw the popcorn up.
Oh man, when he
But,
it's got when he reveals his
that-
healed face,
Yeah, it could have been
and
anything in that film.
glowing
who
light.
knows? Just him saying any of the lines.
Back to
But
the club.
so I was
Ah!
really anticipating that guy coming, and also trying not to give any tells on my end, but I
Mhm.
was trying to keep an eye on her. I remember she literally just went like really loud. That's scary.
Yeah, I mean, and it's almost, I mean, it's a perfect standalone horror short, like, I mean, it
Yeah.
really is because I mean, the guy comes back very briefly at the end, but presumably this would have been a character with an arc and a storyline in a television series version, but it just winds up being this standalone distilled version of the whole movie, essentially, which I guess we can maybe get into later. And then you mentioned Adam Kesher. The other big storyline that's happening is uh, Justin Theroux plays this guy, Adam Kesher, who is this hotshot young director who I guess has to go to this meeting where the money men are coming in and telling him he has to recast a certain person as the lead in his movie, and he doesn't want to do it because he's a cocky, black clad Hollywood auteurist asshole. And they have a hilarious scene where they're paranoid about the coffee that they're going to serve the Castigliani brothers, who are the
I
sort of
loved
heavy
it. I
money men.
love this scene.
Oh, it's so good. And Angelo Badalamenti, the composer, plays, and Dan Hedaya, they both play the Castigliani brothers. And it's all built up over this tension over ordering the coffee. And the guy gets the coffee and then asks for a napkin. And they bring it, and he like takes a sip, and he's got his little like pinky finger out, from the little espresso cup, and he sloshes it around in his mouth for a second. Then he just immediately starts to spit it all out onto the napkin and like rolling his tongue around in his mouth to get every last piece of espresso, while the other characters go into this sort of Lynchian convulsions.
That's my favorite part of the
Reaction.
movie, I
Right, that is
think.
one of the finest espressos in the world. Right, and the guy starts screaming. And they tell him like, this is the girl, this is who you have to cast. And meanwhile, or at the end, the director character leaves, finds their car, beats the shit out of it with a golf club, which he had brought to the meeting as his like, a tourist affectation. And they have this like secret man behind the curtain played by Michael Anderson, who was the man from Another Place in Twin Peaks. And he suggests to the producers they need to shut the whole movie down and shut the director down. And he discovers that his bank account's been frozen. His whole life is getting screwed up because he refused to cast this actress. Um, and he has to go have this meeting at the top of Beechwood Canyon at these stables, which actually exist, and I've been to.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
yeah, it's an actual place, and we did when I was in film school, someone did like shot some scenes from one of their projects there, and we were like, oh my God, this is the place from Mulholland Drive, and he meets this guy called the Cowboy, who is dressed like a literal cowboy, and
Yeah.
also a great standalone dialogue scene where he more or less takes the director to task for being a smart aleck.
Yeah. Played by a
And
guy, I think he
yeah.
was a producer
Yeah, Monty
on
Montgomery. Yeah, on Wild at
the
Heart.
co-director of Catherine Bigelow's first movie.
Oh, yes.
The biker
Yeah.
movie, The Heartless, I think it's called.
Okay. Yeah, I don't
Or
remember the
The
name of it.
Loveless, The Loveless.
Yes, that's it. That's it.
He co-directed that with Catherine
Yeah.
Bigelow, and then he's also a producer on Wild at Heart.
Yeah, and he's, I mean, an amazing performance, one for the ages. Um, and, he tells me you got to cast the girl tomorrow, and you'll see me one more time if you do good, and two more times if you do bad. Have a good evening. Right. And it's a classic Lynchian villain who's overly polite, right, and really hung up on manners. And it's a thing that's been done by so many other people so many times that it's cliched. But then when he does it, you're like, it's terrifying. Even though
Yeah.
you also know it's cliched, because by 2001, it's a cliche. But here it's so terrifying. But and so meanwhile with Betty and Rita, they Betty is partly in town because her aunt got her this big audition, and she goes to do the audition, and it is a tiny room with like 8 people in it, and there's like a clueless director, there's this old producer, and there just happens to be another casting director there with her like hipster goth assistant who like doesn't say anything. It's like she has the best head nod in like movies ever when she gets introduced. It's like so perfect. She saw every Hollywood assistant in the late
Yeah, yeah.
90s and like based her part on that. And then there's also this guy named Woody who is like um like his appearance. I mean, he is tanned to the point of being like baked and cured.
Yeah,
I guess
yeah,
like
yeah.
he
He
like
looks like a
gleaming white
sweet
teeth.
potato with like a wig.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this like the like it's sort of taking George Hamilton and saying like, "Hold my beer," like I
Yeah.
can do better. And they do the audition, and it's a casting couch situation where he is like trying to mac on her.
Hmm.
And the script is terrible. Betty can barely get through it in rehearsal without laughing at it. It's like cable noir erotic thriller dialogue.
Hmm.
But then suddenly when he tries to play it like this, it ignites something in Betty and it transforms into this electric scene. Um, that I like how George Tolles, the film critic, said like at that point you're not really watching Betty audition. This is Naomi Watts's audition for Hollywood, right? This is
Yeah.
like it's a
Hmm.
moment where we are watching a star get born.
Hmm. And
Um,
generically, we're in this kind of like, for lack of a better word, like realism like
mhm,
mode that the film
mhm.
otherwise isn't entirely in.
Yeah.
And of course, the fact that it's like in an audition, Lynch is also highlighting for you how that realism that you see in other Hollywood films is highly constructed. And
Yes.
because you're juxtaposing that scene with the audition that, or not the audition, like the practice that she's doing with
Hmm.
Rita, you're like, oh yeah, when this stuff is done poorly, it seems terrible. But
Yeah.
Hollywood has this weird machinery that we're getting these dark glimpses of the back rooms of that somehow makes us believe what are these patently unrealistic lies.
Exactly.
This is part of been one of my things with both Lynch and also like my love of Nicolas Cage is that people are always like, oh, the way Cage acts isn't realistic. And I'm like, I don't know. When I see Nicolas Cage freaking out, I'm like, that's a lot more like what the real people I know act like when they're upset than like being cinematically upset. But people see themselves in these false images of like what they think of as like the cinematic naturalist thing to do, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I know that's a great way of putting it. Yeah, because it's like something turns on and you're like, oh God, it's real, right? And it's like the
Hmm.
moment where you're in like if you're in like an acting class or something, and people do a scene and it suddenly is like clicking. You suddenly like, oh God, it's real now. It's like no, it's not. But like, I mean, you and you go in knowing it's fake, right? And that's like you're saying, that's the magic of it is, and this is what gets really brought to a head in the Club Silencio scene, right? We are literally told that this is not real. Like we see the room is full of people standing around. Like these are not two people having a real interaction.
Hmm.
Um, and yet the camera moves in and they start doing their thing and we forget all of that and suddenly we are immersed in something that we believe is real even though we have just been told it's fake like all of that part of our brain just shuts off and we are willingly and eager to be duped, right, so that we can feel something real. um, and so she does the scene, they're blown away, and the other casting director is like, I'm going to take you to go meet this you got to meet this director. And so she walks her over to Adam Kesher's set where he's directing the Sylvia North story. And he's looking at her and their eyes meet and like, oh man, there's something going on. Enter the Castigliani brothers with this audition for this other woman who has to be the girl that he picks. And he turns to them and says, this is the girl. They tell him he's made a great choice. And then meanwhile, Betty remembers, oh, I'm supposed to get back to Rita. I've got to get back to her. And then that's when they go to
Hmm.
check out Diane Selwyn's apartment.
Yeah. But
So
there's
like,
this
yeah.
shot, right, of Adam Kesher staring at Betty that
Hmm.
kind of gives you this impression that like without this backroom interference, this is who Adam Kesher would have wanted to cast. Like
Yeah.
he's taken with her in some way.
Yeah, yeah, this is going to be her Hollywood discovery moment, right? The fulfillment of the dream of I just got off the bus from on Deep River, Ontario, and I walked into the room and I did my thing and I got my big break. Like it's only one step less fantastical than like Lana Turner being discovered at the counter of Schwab's drugstore, right? Like just
Hmm.
immediately getting catapulted into stardom out of nowhere. And meanwhile, we go back to the Betty and Rita story, and they're trying to figure out where she is. She thinks she remembers that her name might be Diane. And this name Diane Selwyn pops into her head because she sees a waitress at Winkies who's got the name tag Diane because we're back at the same Winkies. And they look up, there's only one Diane Selwyn in the phone book. They look up her number, they call, and they're going to go. and they go to this series of apartment complexes, which are referred to as the Snow White or the Seven Dwarves apartment complexes, because the Disney animators based the drawings for Snow White and the Seven Dwarves on these apartments in Hollywood, because they were near the Disney studios, and I think maybe
Huh.
some people lived, some of the crew members lived there at the time, and
Huh.
so they go there, they sneak into the apartment of Diane Selwyn, and they go in, and there is a corpse in the bedroom, and they run out screaming, and there's this weird kind of dissolve effect, and that's where the TV pilot was supposed to end. And then we jump to I believe uh is that where we go to Betty sleeping and the cowboy comes out and tells her it's time to wake up or something like that?
Mm.
Oh, no. They run back to the apartment. The posh woman, Rita, is so freaked out. She dyes her hair blonde. And so now we have two blondes. So there's this part, that's where the pilot ends. And then there's like a 12-month period or something where the project's presumably dead. And then one day Lynch is meditating and he gets an idea of how to pull it all together and turn it into a feature film. And he gets like $1 million of funding from Alain Sard. And he goes and shoots another like 20 or 30 minutes of the movie that begins with they race back to the apartment, and Rhea is so freaked out she dyes her hair blonde, and so now we have two blondes. We've got a classic Vertigo situation developing. They're right there in the mirror together. I mean, it's the Vertigo persona. Everything like right, every sort of film nerd is like, oh, the sickos like, oh, haha, yes, right, like here it comes. And they wind up. Uh, and here's where I'm going to get a little fuzzy on the chronology, because I think it basically builds to she does that, and then Betty tells her you don't have to sleep on the couch tonight, and they get in bed together, but Rita takes her robe off, revealing she has nothing on underneath, and she gets in bed, and then they immediately start making out, and Betty asks Rita, have you done this before? And it's like the greatest laugh line in the movie. Rita says, I don't remember, right? Or I don't know, because she still has amnesia. So she has no idea
Yeah,
if this is her first encounter or not. And they sleep together. Betty says,
Yeah.
I think I'm in
Sorry,
love
I
with
want to
you.
add one thing.
Yeah.
Because then I think Rita asks Betty ask the question back to Betty.
Mm,
And I've always
yeah.
been really
Big
interested in
point.
the line Betty says, which is,
Yeah.
I want to do it with you,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
doesn't actually answer the question. And
Yeah.
it's also unclear. I've always been like, this line makes it really unclear what it is,
Uh-huh.
right? Is it that, like, have you not had sex at all before? Have you had sex with a woman
yeah.
before? Like, because Betty is such this sort of like virginal, bubble gum character, like it almost weirdly reads to me as just like she's kind of entering into sort of like the realm of the sexual for the
Yeah.
first time.
Well, yeah, because she is I mean, despite being, clearly in her 20s, and, she dresses like she wears clothes that look like they're out of like the Delia's catalog, and like she has like barrettes in her hair and stuff. I mean, like it's a step up from like what Lisa Frank, kind of, or kind of a look. And yeah, the whole Gee Golly Whiz stuff, like it's all very like
This has
she's
now become
unaware
the
that
look of
sex is a thing.
every hardcore like anarchist woman
Right.
in a major urban city now, like that's like a socialist librarian now dresses this way.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're right. It's a great line, and I mean I find it so incredibly moving, right? The way that her saying that, and it takes something that is, again, could just be laughed at ironically, like, oh, here's this laugh line. I don't remember if I've done this before, right? And then turns into I want to with you, right? And now it's suddenly we're back to it being real, and it, something that seems so artificial and maybe forced for the movie or whatever becomes this genuine thing. And then they go to sleep, and Rita wakes up saying, or she says the word silencio in her sleep, and she can't stop saying it. And they get in a cab at like 3 a.m. or whatever, and they go to this club in Hollywood called Club Silencio that's in like an old, like kind of like an old downtown LA kind of looking theater. And a guy comes out who we've seen earlier as like he runs his name's Cookie, and he runs a hotel downtown where Adam Kesher
Yeah, that
is holed
Kesher
up.
was like, yeah.
Yeah, I'm at Cookie's downtown. And and he
Cookie, I
comes
pay you cash.
right. Right. No, I know these men. They know you're here. And so he comes out and he says, "No, I banda." Right? There is no band. What you're
Sorry,
hearing is
not to
okay.
interrupt, but I just
Yeah.
had the most cursed thought that if like Mulholland Drive came out now, we would get like an HBO Max miniseries about Cookie.
Yeah.
And like his life as like daytime running the seedy motel where you hide from the
Oh,
mob, and
God.
like nights
Yep.
emceeing at Club Silencio.
Yeah, and they'd make it some sort of like John Wick crossover or something where like he like it's like the low rent version of the Continental for like the the people on the outs or whatever. Yeah, you'd get an origin, like you'd have a whole spin-off show about the cowboy, and you'd have a spin-off show about Winkies, right?
Ugh.
That where
Yeah.
they try to do like some Lynchian version of like Cheers or Mel's Diner or some shit, right? The need the and this is like, I mean, this is what's amazing about how like our culture both is completely Lynchian and completely divorced from being Lynchian is exactly what you're talking about, Devin. That sort of that need to have every single plot hole filled and explained
Yeah.
by some standalone show. And that sort of refusal to let things be ambiguous. And yet,
Yeah.
on the other side, you have this embrace of David Lynch, who is notorious for, I'm not going to explain even the stuff I have shown you. I mean, like it's amazing that, I mean, I guess we are able to hold these two conflicting things in our minds, right? I guess maybe it's a hopeful thing, right? It's like, look, we can have this kind of dissonance in our world. But so yeah, so Cookie, fresh out of the pitch meeting for his standalone show, comes out on the stage and says, there's no band. What you're hearing is a tape recording, and you have these various people come out, like a trumpet player and stuff, who starts playing a trumpet, but then he removes the trumpet from his mouth, and the trumpet is still going, and then he puts it back on, and then he introduces Rebecca Del Rio, who comes out and starts to sing the most moving, emotional, amazing version of Roy Orbison's Crying in Spanish, so Llorando. And she's singing, she's got these like glitter tears in her makeup. So she has fake tears, yet she elicits real tears in her performance from Naomi Watts and from Betty and Rita and from other people in the audience, and presumably all of us watching. And then in the midst of this singing, she collapses to the ground, and the singing continues, and we are shocked to discover that the thing that they told us is actually true. This was a tape recording. It wasn't real. During the performance also, I guess, there's like lightning strikes and stuff, and Betty has this Lynchian convulsion, and then they leave there, and then things go really off the rails, because this is when like she goes to bed, the cowboy comes to wake her up. So we've seen now
When
the
they
cowboy
unlock
one
the
more
box,
time.
right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, there's this like mystery
That's
box.
kind of what triggers it. There's like, it's
course.
the pure,
The
it's
MacGuffin,
pure
yeah.
MacGuffin, right? It's
Yes.
just pure
Yeah,
MacGuffin.
yeah.
It's just like, and then the key is just like magically. Wait, is it that they have the key and then they get the box, or they have the box and then they get the key? I can't remember.
They have the
Shit.
key.
They get the box. They have
Yeah.
the mysterious blue key already.
Yes,
Yeah.
the
And then
keys in a
like
purse
this box materializes seemingly
Yes.
in
on like the coffee table or something, right?
yeah,
It's in her
like
purse,
in her
I
purse.
thought.
Oh,
It's in her purse.
Right. Yeah. she
They're
finds it
actually
in her
still
purse.
in the
Yeah,
theater.
she finds it in the theater in her purse.
And then it's like,
Yes.
oh, here's the box that has the lock it's also blue, and it perfectly fits this key we've had the whole time, which is, obviously Lynch knowing what he's doing, right?
Yeah, I mean, no, like
And-
it's the thing that's launched 1,000 like blog posts, right, or something like that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like trying to explain what it is and where it comes from. It's like, guys, like it doesn't matter, right? Just go with it. Stop trying to explain it. But yeah, they open the box, and then yeah.
Speaking of MacGuffins,
Yeah,
we would also it's like if North by Northwest came today, we would have a fucking Netflix series about what was on the tapes.
yeah.
Just you don't need to know everything, because here's the thing, like, spoiler alert for everybody, this is all made up.
Yes.
None of this stuff actually happened. You know what I
Well,
mean?
both literally in real life and in the world of the movie, as we'll get to in a
Yes,
moment.
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's the other thing. Like, watch the whole thing and you realize you don't really need to worry about this that hard. So yeah, so they open the box, the camera descends into the box, and then the box like so where it's all black for a second, the box drops down, and like now the apartment is like empty and stuff, right? And
Yeah, and that's when you get the
yeah,
cowboy telling her to
yeah,
wake up,
yeah. Hey, pretty
pretty
girl, time
baby
to
or
wake
whatever he
up.
calls her, pretty girl. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we get the most harrowing 20 minutes probably in like since Come and See or something like that. I think for me, like this
Yeah,
is
which
just
go in the archive
torturous.
for the come and see episode of You're Tall But I'm Standing in Front of You.
Nice,
um,
nice.
but but the set up,
Yeah.
Spike. Okay, so the and then we wake up and suddenly people are calling Betty Diane, and there's this woman coming to get her stuff out of Diane's apartment, and maybe they've been in a relationship and she's moved out, maybe not, or maybe they were just roommates, we don't really know. And then she leaves and like she makes like this sad cup of coffee, um and like jumps over the couch, and suddenly Rita's back and she's naked on the couch, only now her name's Camilla, which was the name of the actress who was supposed to be like the whole this is the girl moment. And we get this jilted lover thing where now Betty slash Diane turns out to have been in love with Rita slash Camilla, who winds up falling in love with Adam Kesher and gets cast in the movie in like Adam's first movie instead of her, and they're like getting it on in like on set in front of everybody, and Betty slash Diane has this like bit part in it as a favor to Camilla and has to kind of watch them get together and watch
Hmm.
Camilla become this star. Camilla invites Diane to a party up in the hills. She's riding a limo down Mulholland Drive, just like at the beginning of the movie.
Hmm.
And the car stops. And so we're also like getting back to the whole gun moment from the opening, only now it's not that magically Camilla has come down the hill to bring her up to the party on the hilltop with like the infinity pool and all of that kind of stuff. And then it is the most skin crawlingly uncomfortable and humiliating party where Diane has to watch Adam and Camilla announce that they are engaged, and everyone's sort of asking her why she's there, and she's basically like revealing herself to be like Camilla's Kato Kalin or something like that, right? Like just
Hmm.
this completely failed person who they're all sort of pitying, and then everyone else is like just so happy for these two like people being stupidly in love and all of that. And we jump to Diane apparently hiring a hitman to kill Camilla. And then when she discovers that that has happened, she completely loses her mind and is getting assaulted by the old couple and from the airport who like appear in her house. She's screaming. She runs into her room and she kills her. She shoots herself, and the like smoke fills her apartment, and then the movie basically kind of ends. We have like a little kind of memory sort of montage of highlights from Camilla and Diane together, and then we go back to Club Silencio, and this blue-haired woman says Silencio, and that's the end of the movie. I think we covered almost everything except for the cameo
Mm-hmm.
by Billy Ray Cyrus,
I was about to
which
say.
Oh
which does need to get
yeah.
mentioned.
Yeah.
It is
Oh,
it
and let me just say,
as
I just
Gene the
have to
Pool
say,
Man.
I just have to say, as someone, Adam Kesher shows up and like, in classic David Lynch, like intentionally on the nose style, his wife is literally like fucking the pool guy,
Yeah.
who's played by Billy Ray Cyrus. Is it a pool guy or is he like an exterminator?
No, he's the pool
He's
man.
cool
He's
He's the
guy.
pool
Gene's
guy.
Gene's
Yeah.
pool supplies. Yeah.
Yeah, and he is acting like he walks in and like Billy Ray Cyrus says something along the lines of like, just forget it, man. It'll be
Yeah.
better that way.
Yeah,
And
you need to calm down. Like, you're
yeah.
really he's like it's like he's the beta, like the most beta, like
Yeah.
reasonable, like counselor adulterer.
Yeah. And let me just say, and this kind of I think comes back to my point about how like David Lynch and Nick Cage and these artists who like people act like are unrealistic, but in my opinion are more realistic than what we call realism. As someone who, and Ethan knows the details about this that will not go on the pod, but as someone who has like discovered his significant other in the act of cheating, this is so accurate. This
Mhm.
is exactly how that motherfucker acted.
Mhm.
Oh, it's so on the nose. But there's something about like when you get caught in that situation that you go into this mode of just like, hey man, it's gonna be okay. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna be great for you. And
Yeah, I
it's
mean
like,
the weird sort
fuck
of like,
you.
yeah, the aggressor simultaneously trying to de-escalate a situation, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh no, I'm gonna claim the moral high ground here. It's like, what the
Mm.
fuck, dude? Like,
Yeah.
you are in the ditch. You're in the moral
Yeah.
ditch.
I,
You
I
can't
like
climb
the I
out.
like the sort of extension then the one other scene that Billy Ray Cyrus is in where then the bruiser walks in
Yeah,
and Adam Catcher they're
The
trying to
largest
find
man of all time.
yes
yeah.
yeah and he
He's a
tries to
refrigerator.
and he just totally flattens out
Hmm.
Billy Ray Cyrus and just keeps going Adam Catcher
Yeah,
Yeah, it's so
yeah.
cool.
And I
yeah
guess we should note it's a pre Hannah Montana Billy Ray Cyrus. So it's
Yeah.
I
yes
mean we have to get the timelines right here. It's post Achy Breaky, pre Hannah Montana Billy Ray
Yes.
Cyrus.
Listeners may
Mhm.
know Billy Ray from President Trump's inauguration, but he
Mhm.
was
Or from
previous.
his other hit Old Town Road.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Famously hit a hit that
And
he
also, of course,
was the.
from recently being beheaded live at the Oscars, which
Yeah.
was one of the stranger moments of the night. But I was also upset about the brutalist getting shut out. So
Yeah, I mean, I think Will Smith went a little overboard when he slapped the head afterward. Like, I think that was a little too much, but
yeah,
like, it was a wild night at that point.
Yeah.
yeah, little too much spice in the gumbo, so to speak. Um,
Yeah, so I think that's Mulholland Drive. Maybe, kind of, sort of.
The task of having to do a plot synopsis of a David Lynch film, I think, is a it should not fall on any one person because I think Lynch it goes so much beyond just like here are the things that happen obviously.
Right.
So you did a fantastic job with all that. The
yeah,
whole time I was waiting like
Ethan.
wait we missed Billy Ray Cyrus so capping that up just flawless just well
It
done.
was very
Oh, well,
similar to
thank
like
you.
kind of like the Eagles' performance in the Super Bowl. I would kind of compare it to. Ethan, like, let me know. I'm kind of doing this unilaterally, but let me know if you have any oppositions to this. Obviously, we've just had our Oscar show.
Yeah.
I would like to award an honorary standee to Mike for best plot summary of the season.
I think that is only fair. I mean, this is traditionally outside of the award season range of the tallies, but I think that's only fair.
Hey, I'd
Yeah,
like to thank the Academy. I want to thank my team, everybody at Bloomsbury. The reviewer number 2, thank you. I
yeah,
love
Ooh.
you. Yeah. And mom, dad, I appreciate it. My kids, you should
yeah.
be in bed by now, but
And
this
I
is
just
really
want to
great.
mention some of the other nominees that Mike defeated for this award. Me, summarizing Gladiator 2. Me, summarizing Megalopolis. Me, summarizing M. Night Shyamalan's Signs. Ethan, summarizing Short Circuit 1986.
Oh God, I'm
You know,
sorry, dude. Man, you had to
a
do that and you
stacked
got
category.
nothing. You got
Nothing.
nothing in the end. That's so bad. Go back to the club, motherfucker.
Yeah, no, and you know what
Yeah.
was crazy because Ethan was sweeping all the precursor awards, and it was looking like a clear win. But Mike came in. Mike got his plot summary in. It was in a theater for a week. That's all. That's all you need to have to qualify.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you
All
very
right.
much. It's an honor.
Well,
Absolutely.
Mike, thank you.
So Mike and Devin, both of you are, big fans of David Lynch. I mean, Mike, you have this really incredible new book coming out, David Lynch's American Dreamscape, and Devin, you're a fan, and and so, but the real question is, how big of a fan are you really? Can you put up your fandom into the what shall we call this? Into the Thunderdome that we refer to as Vox Populi. So, I've arranged a quick game for us to dig into for this one. Like I said, I haven't seen a lot of David Lynch stuff, so this will either work well or it'll be a disaster, but we'll see how it goes. And what was coming to mind with this is, I believe if I'm correct, David Lynch, big following in Japan. Is this correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure, Mike, you've seen the Twin Peaks commercials.
Yeah. Oh, those are great.
What is the product there again? Is it a coffee or?
I think it is. I think it is a coffee or like an energy drink of some kind.
What do you think it means? I don't know, Ken. Letter G. How about a couple of Georgia coffees while we think about it? Thank you, Lucy. Cooper? Hawk, you're gonna love Georgia coffee. It's brewed rich. Tastes incredible. Damn fine coffee, right? Right.
It's true. Agent Cooper, look what happens when I connect the pins.
The letter G. Good work, Andy. Hawk, what's under that last pin?
Glastonbury Grove.
Home of the Black Lodge.
Georgia ni makasero.
Yeah, but he actually filmed these like there's a whole series of them because they have like a plot across like 4 or 5 commercials with the actual Twin Peaks cast. Like Kyle MacLachlan's in it. I can't remember who all else is in it, but like several of the actual Twin Peaks actors. So yeah, and this is actually part of why David Lynch films almost always make money, because even though he's thought of as this kind of obscure artsy director, he makes he's big in Japan, he's big in France. So I actually don't think a David Lynch film has ever lost money technically.
Wow. Even Dune?
Yeah, I think by this point, Dune's probably made
Yeah,
it.
I guess if you're
That's
thinking,
probably
if you're
fair,
thinking
yeah.
long durée.
Okay. Yeah. So, and like, who knows why this is the case, but I wonder if maybe it's because there is some deep understanding between the Japanese people and David Lynch. And so what this game is I'm going to give you all some quotes, and I want you to be able to tell me, is this a quote by David Lynch, or is this a quote from a 90s or early 2000s Japanese-produced video game translated into English? Can you identify the quote?
Oh, man. Oh.
So
I am predicting a Chiefs-style meltdown for me here.
Can we get a bonus point if we guess what video game it is?
yeah, here's what I'll do. If you believe it's from a video game, you can guess which video game. But if you do that and it was a David Lynch quote, you get 2 points deducted. I think is fair.
Okay, so you have to take a risk. You shouldn't. Yeah, you get a that's fair because you
fair?
take on a
Okay.
risk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I will not be doing that.
Well, why don't you get what should be 1 point deducted, right? Because it's like a 2-point swing. Because like instead
I
of
see.
getting
Okay,
0,
yeah. So
you're
instead
losing
of getting
1,
2 points, you lose 1. That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I've got a number of quotes here, and I'll just tell you the way that I did this is I came up with all the quotes and I numbered them, and I did a random number generator to randomly assign them. So, because I feel like Devin always does this, and he's like, isn't it time for a David Lynch quote? Isn't it time for a video game quote? It's like, no, it's totally random, so don't try and like be like, well, certainly the next one is going to be this or that. It's random, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Or did you actually just put them all in a row, like all the Lynch ones and then all the others, and you're trying to cover?
Yeah,
for
you're
that?
trying to make us
no
go
one
crazy.
will know.
Yeah.
There's
Like when
no
your high school
accountability.
teacher, just to fuck with you, there's like a test where like C is every answer.
Yes.
And you're like, this
Yeah.
surely can't be the case.
Guilty.
The way-
Guilty.
Yeah, the way we do that is be like, and have one of them have B as the correct answer. That's if you really want to fuck with students.
Oh God.
heads.
Yeah.
So we'll start with you, Devin, just to kick things off. Is this a video game or a David Lynch quote? And I'm not going to try and do the diction or anything like that, so you'll just have to imagine what it might be. The flow of time is always cruel. Its speed seems different for each person, but no one can change it. A thing that does not change with time is a memory of younger days.
Oh, man, that's tough. I'm gonna guess this is a video game, but I don't have a guess of the video game. I can't take on the risk.
Devin, you're on the board with 1 point. This was spoken by Sheik in Ocarina of Time.
That actually, I should have been able to guess that.
I saw
Yeah.
like I bet Devin's gonna not guess that, and then he'll be upset that he didn't think of it. So.
Well, it
All
kind of
right.
seemed like it could be like any of the like 15 Final Fantasies, you know?
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. All right, Mike. Here's your line. To live a life of power, you must have faith that what you believe is right, even if others tell you you're wrong. The first thing you must do to live a life of power is to find courage. You must be ready to reach beyond the boundaries of time itself, and to do that, all you need is the will to take that first step.
That's a video game.
You are correct. This is the Japanese tagline for Sonic the Hedgehog CD. So,
Wait, really?
yes.
What is going on with Sonic the Hedgehog?
When did Sonic read the 48 Rules of Power? Jesus.
Yeah. Yep.
Thus sprock Sonic the Hedgehog. Jesus.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah.
Man, who knew?
Yeah, Edgelord
Yep.
Sonic.
So you are both on the board with 1 point, and it's back to you, Devin. Here we go.
All right.
Ultimately, each life is a mystery until we each solve the mystery, and that's where we are all headed, whether we know it or not.
I'm going to say that's Lynch. That kind of seems like something he would say.
And you would be correct. That is David Lynch
All right.
from Room to Dream. So, next one back to you, Mike. Don't just sit there and waste your precious time. When you want to do something, do it right away. Do it when you can. It's the only way to live a life without regrets.
Oh, wow. I'm gonna go David Lynch for that.
Yeah, you'd think, but that is the Japanese tagline from Sonic the Hedgehog. Again.
Sonic!
Wait. Which Sonic?
Just Sonic the Hedgehog 1. The very
What
first
is
Sonic
going
the Hedgehog.
on with the Sonic the Hedgehog series?
I know. When I saw this line, I was like, "Well, I need to make this into a game because
Oh my God.
what's happening here?" So, yep.
Wait,
All right.
I hope I'm not spoiling. I hope I'm not spoiling one of the questions that's coming, but I'm just looking up like other Sonic the Hedgehog.
Don't look up other Sonic the
tags.
Hedgehog
And
tags.
no, I just wanted to, I just wanted to give you to give you one. And now that I have allowed myself the jest to which this two-sided life hardly any page can be too serious to grant a place, I part with the book with deep seriousness in the sure hope that sooner or later it will reach those to whom alone it can be addressed, and for the rest patiently resigned that the same fate should in full measure befall it that in all ages has to some extent befallen all knowledge, and especially the weightiest knowledge of the truth, to which only a brief triumph is allotted between the two long periods in which it is condemned as paradoxical or disparaged as trivial. So that's the tagline to Sonic Adventure 2. Weird.
Yeah. Well, the trivia is that was actually spoken by Knuckles.
Yeah.
But yeah.
that was Sonic quoting David Lynch.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Whoever, if a listener wants to figure out what I actually took that quote from, we'll do an episode on whatever you want.
It's back to you, Devin, and you are in the lead, but for how long?
All right.
Here we go. Next quote. Another Chinese proverb. Those who look at the heavens prosper. Those who defy it are no more. Do you know this one? The meaning here is, hold on a sec, that you can only survive as long as you're a part of the natural order of things. You remember pre-ripped jeans? Manufacturers thought that just because people loved old broken-in jeans, they would want to buy new jeans that looked old.
Man. I was so confident it was Lynch, and then when you got to the bit about the jeans, I was like, that does seem like the kind of metaphor they would use in like some kind of weird RPG. But some of the little verbal affectations make me think that was Lynch.
Yeah, you'd think, but this was spoken by Otakon in Metal Gear Solid 2.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God, you're right. Oh,
Yeah.
that does. Yeah, that is
you
that
see-
metal. That is the way people talk in Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, just imagining Lynch on some panel being like, the jeans, the
Jeans?
pre-ripped jeans, it's weird.
That was where I started to have a crisis of faith. I was like, I don't know if this would address the existence of genes.
Yeah. So let's see, Mike, if you can come back to tie it up.
Oh man, yeah. I hope
Next quote.
another like one that could be anybody. The live, laugh, love of philosophical quotes.
We'll see. It's so freeing. It's beautiful in a way to have a great failure. There's nowhere to go but up.
David Lynch.
That is indeed David Lynch. I'm gonna guess referring to
Dune. Yeah.
So you are back on the board. It is now tied at 2-2, and we're back to you, Devin.
Yeah, which I'll go out on a limb. Dune may be the most important work in his entire career. If you're thinking about the fact that, he resolves to never do a work without Final Cut after that, and the fact that his relationship with Dino De Laurentiis and their 2-picture deal that De Laurentiis decided to honor and allow him to make Blue Velvet with Final Cut if he could get it to under 2 hours. Like all of that, without Dune, you don't have any of that. So that's why Blue Velvet is also 1 frame short of being 2 hours long. Was because if it went a frame over, he would lose Final Cut, and so that's why the closing credits have 2 columns to them, is to rush through the credits to get it to be under 2 hours.
Oh, that's awesome!
Incredible.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
So Dune's so important. Yeah.
It always makes me think of like the world in which Return of the Jedi was David Lynch directed too.
Yeah.
What world might we have, the paths untaken. Devin, we're back to you. It's a tie game. Right. Is this David Lynch or a video game quote? Don't fight the darkness. Don't even worry about the darkness. Turn on the light and the darkness goes. Turn up that light of pure consciousness. Negativity goes.
Oh, man. This is a good game. This is tough. Because it does seem like something he would say. Possibly in the fish book. He has like the book with fish in the title.
Yeah, Catching the Big Fish.
Catching the Big Fish. That seems like he could possibly say it there. It also seems like something someone would say in a video game. I'll just say Lynch. I don't know.
You're correct. This is David Lynch from Catching the Big Fish.
Oh, there we go. All right.
Yeah. So you're got another point there, Devin. Very nice. But yeah, you're correct. I was choosing quotes that could hopefully sound a bit like Lynch is maybe the deal. But again, like I said, y'all have seen much more than I have, so it could be a bust. But so far,
it's been challenging for me. Yeah.
All right, back to you, Mike. Can you keep it tied? Stay true to yourself. Let your voice ring out, and don't let anybody fiddle with it. Never turn down a good idea, but never take a bad idea.
Oh my God. And now
I think that's from Ms. Pac-Man.
I'm gonna go the counterintuitive route and say that's a video game.
It's actually David Lynch, also from Catching the Big Fish. And
God damn it.
This apparently comes with the 10th anniversary edition of the book. I don't know if it was in the original, but
he didn't make that point clear enough.
Yeah. Yep. So this is where we're getting with these quotes. Devin, you're in the lead for now, but is this a David Lynch quote or a game? And I want to remind us, Devin, you had insisted that you have a chance if you think it's a game to name the game too. So keep that in mind as one
I
of
have
rules,
not.
No one's
I
done
have
that yet.
The first one, I was like, I could have seen how that's Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
None of the other games. I mean, maybe Metal Gear Solid 2, but that I wouldn't have known it was 2 versus 1 or whatever, But the Sonic the Hedgehog ones, I'm really like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Like anything seems possible now, and I'm scared to say anything.
Well, let's see what you say for this one. Sorry for being brash. People who are all talk are the worst. I don't do what I do out of righteousness. I do what I do because I love to do it.
I'm going to say video game.
It is a video game. You are correct. This is the intro message from the Japanese manual for the original Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh my God.
Wait, can you say it again now that we have the knowledge it's Sonic the Hedgehog?
Yeah, I think brash was the giveaway. A word like brash. I'm like, that's not a David Lynch word.
Sorry for being brash. People who are all talk are the worst. I don't do what I do out of righteousness. I do what I do because I love to do it.
And that is running really fast. I mean, that seems kind of a bad message. I would want Sonic the Hedgehog to be doing what he's doing because of righteousness. Apparently, Sonic the Hedgehog just enjoys this. He doesn't actually care about defeating Dr. Robotnik. He doesn't care about the animals being turned into robots.
Yeah. That really dents the mythology of Sonic. So that's
Yeah.
Okay. Back to you, Mike. Can you we've got it's 4-2, Devin. Devin, by guessing all of these are video game quotes. Is this a David Lynch quote or a video game quote? Every world has its end. I know that's kind of sad, but that's why we got to live life to the fullest in the time we have. At least that's what I figure.
God. Half of that sounds very David Lynch, and then the other half really does not. That's a video game.
You are correct. That's from
Finally
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh shit! Why didn't I say that? I need to gain ground here.
Sonic and the Black Knight is the game that comes from.
Oh, no one was getting that.
I've played one Sonic the Hedgehog game because none of my friends had a Sega.
I would have accepted Sonic the Hedgehog in general, but
thank you, Mr.
So
Sajak.
if we get franchised, does that count? It doesn't have to be a specific game?
That's fine. Okay. That's fine.
That's good to know. That's good to know.
Oof.
Yeah. We've got 3 more rounds left, though. It's a close game. It's 4-3. Devin, you're in the lead by 1.
Okay. No room for error, though.
Very true. Or you could go for broke again and say, I think this is from the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. Okay. Next quote. David Lynch or a video game? Everything I learned in my life, I learned because I decided to try something new.
Oh, man. Everything in my life I learned because I decided to try something new. Could be Elden Ring. Could be, Resident Evil 4. Damn. Everything in my life. You know what? Fuck it. Video game Sonic the Hedgehog. I know that's not right, but someone has to do it at some point.
I appreciate that. This is, in fact, a David Lynch quote.
Wow.
Which means we are now tied at 3-3, Devin and Mike.
Yep.
It's a big quote. That's a big quote from a guy who ordered the same milkshake every day for 2 years or whatever.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, I don't necessarily think that's really true of him.
I would not have guessed that.
At one point, he needed to do that milkshake order for the first time, and that's when he learned that that was the order. That was the perfect order.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
No. Yeah.
Back to you, Mike. Can you take the lead?
That was like I was like I need to either end this now or make it more interesting for the final 2 rounds.
Yeah. So, Mike, David Lynch or video game? No copyright law in the universe is going to stop me.
Oh God. I think that's a video game, and I'm not saying Sonic the Hedgehog.
Well, you should have, because it is from Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic Colors. That's where apparently at one point Sonic the Hedgehog just says, no copyright law in the universe is going to stop me. So,
is that a game where Sonic's just on LimeWire, just downloading every Beta Band album?
Yeah.
We can only assume.
It's like, the Borges story about the Library of Babel, where it contains every book that could possibly be written, every combination of letters.
Yes, that's Sonic
apparently
suddenly.
This is the Sonic the Hedgehog games.
The ad campaign.
Has been said at some point in relation to Sonic the Hedgehog.
That's why he's got to run so fast.
If you've confirmed the one I got wrong, I don't know if you've done enough research to definitively say that wasn't also said by Sonic at some point.
That's true. That's fair. Yeah. We're down to our last 2 rounds, and Mike, you've taken the lead. It is now 4-3 with Mike in the lead. Devin, it's back to you. Okay. Is this David Lynch or a video game? Inside, we are ageless, and when we talk to ourselves, it's the same age of the person we were talking to when we were little. It's the body that is changing around the ageless center.
I'm gonna say Lynch. That seems like kind of like a TM sort of insight to me.
You'd be correct, Devin. That is a David Lynch quote. You've tied it back up, but Mike has the chance to take the lead. And this one has a little two people talking, but of course, the main person would be either David Lynch or a video game.
Statistically
Or
speaking,
Sonic the
probably
Hedgehog.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Probably Sonic. Could be Sonic.
Yeah, I love it when Sonic interviews are my favorite.
Yeah. Find something you believe in and find it for yourself. When you do, pass it on to the future. Believe in what? That's your problem.
Oh, that last part makes it trickier. Because that seems more like aggressive and dismissive for Lynch than I would like. Video game.
You are correct. That's from Metal Gear Solid 2. That's Solid Snake talking about
Obviously.
believing in something, I suppose. Which means that, Mike, you have taken the lead again, bringing us into our last round.
So I have to get this one right or it's over.
If you get it wrong, there's no hope for you unless Mike guesses video game
Yes,
and
it's
it
a
is
video
David.
game
Yeah, there's
for no reason.
Yeah, so yeah, he could throw it all away.
Just going all in.
Yeah. So, Devin, David Lynch or video game? You mustn't allow yourself to be chained to fate, to be ruled by your genes. Human beings can choose the kind of life that they want to live. What's important is that you choose life and then live.
I think this is a video game, and I think this is from one of the Metal Gear Solid games, because they're all about, like, he's the clone of Big Boss and, like, not giving into fate.
Devin, this is indeed a quote from Metal Gear Solid, the very
Wow.
first one by Naomi.
I was going to say one, but you said we just needed franchise, so.
Wow.
No, that is that. So that means, Devin, you have taken the lead by one, which means.
So does Mike play for the tie, or does he go for broke? He can only win. He can only win if it's a video game.
Yeah.
That's a David
that is
Lynch
true.
quote.
Yeah.
He can only tie.
Gotta go for the 2-point conversion. Yeah, so do I just go in right now and answer it's a video game and it's Sonic the Hedgehog before you even read it?
I
Because
think
that's
like
the only way to get the
if
W.
we had like the equivalent of the fourth down bot, that is probably like statistically the best thing to do. But if you're sure it's a Lynch quote, you should tie it, and then Ethan will have to think of a tiebreaker unless he already has.
fuck.
Yeah, or if it's a Lynch quote and I can guess where it's from. Is that the same thing as guessing the video game?
I think that would be.
Let's
fair.
give that to him
okay.
for the final question. So that we can end this. We can end this now.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
So I've just miraculously tied and got at the 2-point conversion to take the lead, but Mike Miley is driving down the field trying to get into field goal range.
Yeah. So famously, a scenario that did not at all happen in this past Super Bowl.
No.
So, I want you to live for the future. There may be nothing left for you, but despite that, you must look forward and walk a path of hope, trusting that it will sustain you when darkness comes.
Video game Sonic the Hedgehog.
It is a video game. It's not Sonic the Hedgehog, though. This is spoken by the King of Hyrule in the Wind Waker.
Zelda the Wind Waker.
Which means, what happens when you guess that it is a video game, but you get
You
the
lose
video
it.
game?
So I get 0?
I guess 0 if it
I guess you
wasn't.
get 0, yeah.
Which means, because Sonic the Hedgehog got so front-loaded in the first half of this game, it created a false sense that any of these quotes are going to be Sonic the Hedgehog quotes.
Well, now I have a false sense that everything I hear in the rest of my life is a Sonic the Hedgehog quote. Like it front-loaded reality itself.
This is yeah.
We need to
Said Sonic the Hedgehog.
We need to do some social media, Ethan, with just these Sonic the Hedgehog quotes attributed to various historical figures.
Yeah, I mean, is this like an Abraham Lincoln or Kurt Vonnegut sort of thing where Sonic didn't actually say any of this shit? It's just what the quote machine says.
What was going on in Japanese video game companies in the 90s where they were like penning these like monologues and then be like, oh yeah, no, that was Sonic the Hedgehog was saying
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I saw the best minds of my generation destroyed by madness. Sonic the Hedgehog.
Which means because Devin, you had that you knew it was Metal Gear Solid, you are the winner of this week's Vox Populi. This
Hell
never
yeah.
happens. This never
Yeah,
happens.
congratulations. Well played. Well played.
Yeah.
It was. Oh, I would like to thank that PS2 that came with the Donnie Darko inside of it.
That did it. And that is Vox Populi.
So Mike, part of why we brought you on, obviously, not just to talk about this great movie, but to specifically talk about your book and your great chapter on Mulholland Drive, which is called "Lonely Hearts and Locusts in the Dream Dump: Cruising Mulholland Drive with Nathaniel West." And I have some specific moments in it we can talk about. But as you were saying at the top, part of what the book's doing, it's not just talking about David Lynch movies. It's connecting them to these musical and literary influences that you're detecting, or lineages that you see Lynch participating in. Maybe tell us a little bit about what led you to from Mulholland Drive to Nathaniel West, or was it the other way around? Or
No, it was definitely from Mulholland Drive to Nathaniel West. I mean, I guess I had read West before seeing Mulholland Drive, but when you look at any kind of contemporary reviews of Mulholland Drive and people talking about it, Day of the Locust just gets dropped a lot as any sort of dystopian Hollywood movie or Hollywood story. They use Day of the Locust as shorthand for Hollywood as dystopia, right? And it's a kind of clever hook that I guess people were using, but then I noticed people didn't really investigate it any further. And I thought there might be more to this than just saying, "Oh, it's like Day of the Locust." And Lynch has like one interview where I think he like kind of beamed or got excited when someone mentioned Day of the Locust to him. Not that it like needed to be something he was familiar with, but I thought, okay, well, there's maybe a little more there. And I read West's three other books. And then I was suddenly realizing, oh, wow, there's actually a lot of resonance here between these two artists. I mean, and West himself was really interested in his early work in like Dadaism and Surrealism. His first novel is very much like that. And so that just kind of got me looking at how they both are operating under the same logic, so much to where you could almost look at Mulholland Drive as like the fullest articulation of West's project cinematically, like even more so than the adaptation of Day of the Locust.
awesome. Yeah, I haven't actually read any West, to be honest with you.
Oh
I'm
man,
assuming
he's
you haven't either.
amazing.
Yeah, no, the
No,
chapter
no.
made me really. I've always wanted to read him. I'm like a post 45 Americanist, so he's always
Uh-huh.
just kind of been like something where I can be like, oh, I don't. That's like technically before my period, a
Yeah.
lot, so I haven't gotten to it.
Oh
But
no, he's so good,
um,
and it's like he's kind of like he's the really dark modernist, and so people don't talk about him as much because
yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's so grim. And so people look at like Fitzgerald and Hemingway and all of that more. But man, especially A Cool Million is the most hilarious and bleak satire that I think I've read in a long time.
Awesome. And one of the things you talk about in the chapter, right, is that I think is really important is that this isn't simply in either book, right? It's not as simple as just pointing out that like, oh, this is artifice, this is fake, right? Which is where I think a lot of Hollywood satire or just like films about Hollywood kind of ends, right? Is like pointing out that it's fake. Um, and there's this part of the chapter where you're talking about when Betty's arriving at LAX, and all the different kind of imagery we're seeing, and you write that the images, along with Angelo Badalamenti's soaring score, encourage viewers to let down their guard and embrace the fantasy despite their better judgment. And it seems to me like this is a really important part of how these works are operating. That it's not simply like a guy yelling at you, pointing out like it's all fake, man. Fuck that. Like wearing a leather jacket, like lighting things on fire and breaking bottles, right? But there's something more complex going on. And like this, you talk about how like Lynch needs the viewer to in some ways fall for the illusion of Hollywood so that he can expose that as an illusion or whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I think he very much does. I mean, this is exactly how the opening to Blue Velvet works as well. There's so many things in his work do the same kind of thing where, yeah, Betty's arrival, it's ridiculous, right? Like she's so starstruck and smiling. Like there's this welcome to LA sign at LAX. Like, give me a break, right? And we know it's fake and we know it's so stupid and silly. And yet, wouldn't it be so nice if it weren't? And we really want it to be like that. And so we need to tell ourselves that it's fake so that we can dream about it being true.
Yeah.
And then what happens both in the movie and in other things, then we sense it's too good to be true, but we want to believe it, so we go along with it anyway. And then when the rug gets pulled out from under us to confirm what we knew already at the going in, it feels like a betrayal. And it
Yeah.
feels so upsetting. And that's why so many of his movies are so emotionally upsetting, is because we recognize that in some ways we were complicit in duping ourselves to take the dream over the reality. And we're mad and we're sort of pissed off the dream can't be true
Yeah.
because we
And
want it to be true so bad, even
and
though we know it's not real.
yeah. Do you think that then bleeds into the last half hour of the film too, where
Yeah.
like there's one way of reading Mulholland Drive, right, where it's like, oh, we're in the dream and then we wake up, right?
Yeah.
We're literally told by the cowboy to wake up, and now we're in realism, right? But it seems
hmm
like to me, part of what Lynch has done is he's trained us in this first part of the film to be skeptical of the fact that like these films are composed of constructed images, right? So like, why would we privilege the like kind of gritty realism of the end of the film either, right? That's
Yeah.
equally constructed in some way.
Yeah, it's just one's a dream, one's a nightmare. We don't know where reality is really, because the film kind of begins, at least after the jitterbug contest. You have this weird POV shot of a face going down into a pillow, right? Like a dream
Yeah, yeah.
beginning, right? And so yeah, so I read the first two-thirds of the movie as Diane imagining this idealized version of her trip to Hollywood, right? The fantasy, the way
Mm,
she wanted it to work out, where I would come and I would get discovered and I would find love and all these things would happen. And then, of course, the moment that that dream is becoming realized, it is also revealing itself to be a dream that cannot sustain itself because it's not real,
right.
right?
Yeah,
And it
yeah, yeah,
crumbles
yeah.
underneath its own weight.
And like
And yeah,
the forces that are destabilizing the dream, right? Like these like uh backroom producers that have these like seemingly kind of like organized crime
yeah,
connections, right?
yeah,
Bumbling hitmen, right? Like Ethan, you loved
yeah,
the assassination sequence, right?
yeah,
All these,
yeah.
those are also tropes, right? So it's like
Yes.
when we're in the world of dreams and tropes, that's also a world of like darkness and violence and um uh not actually a stable one, right?
Yeah, yeah, Betty's imaginings of this like clandestine Byzantine plot to keep her from her dreams coming true is just you're flipping channels through like all these different, cheap television shows, right? That are doing the same thing. And so it's as cliched as her fantasy is, and their weak explanations for like why I didn't make it, right? The reason you didn't make it
Mm-hmm.
is just the same reason that all these people don't make it, like just the stars didn't align or whatever. It
Yeah.
wasn't some nefarious plot to unseat you from what you justly deserve, right? The world just didn't work out that way. But it's got to be elevated to equal the drama of the fantasy. So
Mm-hmm.
and then of course that's just all flimsy. It's paper thin. It collapses, and that collapse is so traumatic and great that the Diane character chooses that she can't live in the reality or the nightmare or the dream.
Yeah.
Like none of it is viable any longer, and so she dies. Um, and there's this moment in Day of the Locust. There's so many wonderful moments in that book. It is hard. I will preface this, like, for whenever you do wind up reading it, it is kind of hard to read today because one of the two main male characters is named Homer Simpson, and it makes
Right. I
Really?
saw that. Yeah.
so I mean, like, like it's really, really,
Oh,
really hard to
that
read the
rules.
book. um, like I mean, so you have to kind of prepare yourself for that going in. It's like there is a character in this book named Homer Simpson, but the other main character, Todd Brackett, who's like a set paint. He wants to be a painter, but he's like working on sets in Hollywood, and he goes to the theater, the movie set where they're shooting the Battle of Waterloo, but the stage crew has not completely finished constructing the set, and through some communication problem they haven't told the director and the actors, and so the extras are doing the battle scene on this raised stage and it collapses because they're not done with it yet. But of course it's this metaphor for the illusion cannot sustain itself, right? It's
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
fall apart. And that's setting up this climactic sequence at the end of the novel where you have a riot break out at a movie premiere, right? So like the vision can't sustain itself. Yet
Mm-hmm.
also, to get to maybe something later that's argued in the chapter, they're broadcasting coverage of the movie premiere live on the
Yeah.
radio, and that broadcast turns from a movie premiere broadcast to a riot broadcast. So like it all becomes media anyway, right? It's
Yeah.
all it's all going to be part of the machine
Yeah.
that gets broadcast out.
And that's what I love is how you talk about in the chapter how there is this. It's almost like these all these people becoming essentially the compost of what's going on
Yeah.
here. But
Yeah.
then at the same time, it's this iterative situation where, like you're saying, I think there's this line where the glitz and the glamour of the premiere and the chaos and violence of the riot all become part of the same siren song that will beckon an audience member to come to LA, where it's almost like it continues this cycle through this inevitable collapse, this inevitable destruction that happens to all these people that then go through this process.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, and that's essentially like it's a combo of maybe just what the entertainment industry cycle is, the way that it sustains itself through the fantasy narrative of Hollywood, combined with something in West's first novel, The Dream Life of Balso Snell, which is a tremendous book. And it takes place entirely in the digestive tract of a Trojan horse. This is going to get a little grody for a minute, but like it begins with the main character essentially entering the Trojan horse from its rectum and traveling through its intestines. And within the intestines of the Trojan horse, there are these creatures called the Phoenix excrementi, who are shit, and then they reproduce by shitting. The shit rises up out of itself to become more Phoenix excrementi. So you just have this endlessly replicating pile of shit, you know. And I think like you were just kind of summarizing, Ethan, that's more or less how Hollywood works too. It takes because there's this line in The Day of the Locust. I'm not going to remember it exactly, but it's something like, uh, this idea about a person is tortured by their dreams so much until they create something, and then it gets like they make art and it gets the dream out of their system. But now that dream is going to go into someone else's
Sorry,
head.
sorry. I think you're
Yeah.
confused. That's the
Oh.
tagline for Sonic Adventure 3. But I'm sure there's a similar line in Day of the Locust.
I mean, Sonic,
Yeah.
known fan of West. I mean, really, I mean, a real West devotee. I mean, if you look in what Sonic Colors, you see he's reading Miss Lonely Hearts in this one cutscene that not a lot of people know about, but like it's a pretty big in the lore. But yeah, so like this idea of like a person being tortured by their dreams, they produce art. Now, of course, someone somewhere else is going to see that art. That art is going to inspire them to dream and make them choose to pursue their dreams. And so they're going to travel to LA thinking, oh, great, I'm going to make it big, right? Not everybody makes it, but I'm going to be the exception because I'm an American, and all of that kind of stuff. And then they maybe do something, they fail and fall by the wayside, but the things that they were in turn inspire other people. And so the wheel keeps turning, and we have fresh media, fresh marks, etc.
And one of the terms you use talking about this, right, is the idea of the dream dump.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, which is that's a phrase from another scene in Day of the Locust when Todd Hackett is touring he's like walking around the back lot, and he sees this pile of discarded sets, and so it's just a big waste heap of like previous sets from old movies, and he calls it a dream dump, and just thinks about it as like, oh, these are the discarded dreams that are no longer of use to the city anymore, yet they are still in a way of use because those discarded dreams are currently inspiring someone else to come to town to try to make it big, and so on. And of course, I mean, this is just and this is just a stand-in for the broader depiction in America of capital, and all how the logic of how capital absorbs everything into itself and sort of self-regenerates, kind of like the Phoenix excrementi do in Dream Life of Balsall Snell.
Yeah, and I feel like there's so much and I loved reading through the chapter because it was making me think all these things of, Devin, what we talk about so much on this podcast. But before that, I mean, I'd just be curious because, again, Devin and Mike, you both are like very, very into like Lynch and that filmography, that what that encompasses. But you have that part, Mike, in the chapter where you say, in a similar way, Mulholland Drive covers its audience in the waste and despair of the film industry, only to provoke more artistic discussion that allows the waste cycle to continue. Perhaps we are even engaging in it right now. So like I was reading that chapter, but like I'm curious, maybe, and like Devin said, we didn't plan this as like a sort of reflection on Lynch in that entire catalog, but I'm curious where you see something like Mulholland Drive and like David Lynch as an auteur, and like how does that fit in with this cycle that tends to exist?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, we can take that quote that you had from him about failure that you read, right? Certainly there's that part of things, but with Mulholland Drive in particular, it's literally a discarded object. It's supposed to be a pilot for ABC. ABC says thanks, but no thanks. And then the movie is literally a phoenix rising from the ashes. It goes from being a discarded television pilot to the 8th greatest film of all time, according to the latest Sight and Sound poll.
Yeah.
And that becomes an inspiring story to any creative person, right? The suits rejected me. The network rejected me. What do they know? I'm going to be different. I'm going to show them. And so the movie is sort of becoming the very thing it is depicting as a nightmare scenario by sheer virtue of its success in the world. And it's the same thing of any auteurist narrative, right, that we always get. I mean, I grew up on these things. It's probably part of the reason why I went to film school to be a director, is like, oh man, yeah, the rebels, the renegades who showed the dummies in the front office how real art works, and I'm going to be one of those people. And then, what happens when you discover that in some way maybe that's a narrative, or at the very least it's a narrative that you're not a figure in, right, or that you're not the protagonist of. What happens then you look a whole lot like Diane Selwyn.
It makes me think of where even just how much the film industry has changed since Mulholland Drive came out, right? Even just the last 25 years. And I think we can, maybe this is a far-fetched idea, but we can almost think of the dream dump and this process of, producing detritus, right, that then provokes new creation, that then produces detritus as a kind of algorithm, right? Kind of like a social algorithm, right? And now we live in an era where that algorithm has become literalized as actual like computer algorithms being used to make new work, right? And we see the not even just the metaphorical detritus, but the actual detritus of like Ghostbusters, or whatnot, being paraded in front of us, right? And,
or like you were talking about earlier, the origin stories of every side character. Like what else can grow? Like what other mushrooms can grow out of this dung heap that we've created?
Yeah. Like, oh, we can put a new coat of paint on this thing. And because it kind of seems like it's again, just thinking about how capitalism works, right? And when, with the tendency of the rate of profit to fall and whatnot, one of the ways you compensate for that is like downward pressure on labor, right? And so even as in a weird way, Mulholland Drive almost makes me nostalgic for an older mode of exploitation and alienation,
Right? Yeah.
where there was this ability to get on the bus and go to Hollywood and have your dreams shattered, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Instead of just that, even that is foreclosed, right?
Yeah. And to some degree,
As
it's
it
even
increasingly becomes a
foreclosed.
closed loop.
Yeah, I mean, it's even foreclosed at the time of the film's making. I mean, I think like its release date at the dawn of the 21st century is, of course, very interesting. But like, what also makes it interesting is the way that, yeah, the narrative is very much a classical Hollywood kind of narrative about being discovered. And of course, the movie that Adam Kesher is making is a period piece, right?
Yes.
With where they're singing like 60s pop songs for some reason, but then the 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 way that Betty's character is styled in the scene that when we see her made up, it almost feels like she's a Depression era,
Yeah.
figure, right? So like it's so in the distant classical Hollywood past, like it's still in the studio era.
Hmm.
So it is also kind of like her fantasy of Hollywood is something that is not real even at the time that she's trying to live it out. Like it's
Yeah.
destined to fail because it doesn't exist.
Yeah. And I wonder, just to expand on this and maybe specify it in a somewhat different way, if we could talk a little bit about gender specifically
Mm.
and women,
Mm.
right?
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
we've been talking about this kind of dream dump process somewhat more generally, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it seems to me that like in Mulholland Drive especially, but really throughout Lynch's career, right? As obviously
Hmm.
in Twin Peaks, right, where
Hmm.
Cheryl Lee is mostly seen as like a photograph or a
Yeah,
videotape, right?
yeah.
Mulholland Drive, obviously, as you talk about, um, Adam Kesher is handed a photograph of a woman and told this is the girl, right?
Hmm.
And I think that's such an intentionally loaded phrase, right?
Yeah.
It seems like something Lynch is really interested in as a filmmaker, right?
Hmm.
And a lot's been written about the kind of the ways women appear in his films, right? But it seems to me he doesn't really he's thinking about how he can't actually access whatever a woman quote unquote is other than through these images, right?
Mm.
And he's thinking about how like cinema and Hollywood make women into images and then
Yeah.
sell those images back to women in different ways. Do you have any
Hmm.
thoughts about like the specificity of
Yeah, yeah,
what
yeah.
how the dump is felt along gendered lines?
Yeah, so a couple of things. I guess going more specifically, we can see that, of course, in his classic blonde and brunette sort of dyad, right?
Absolutely.
There's like two kinds of girls, right? There's the wholesome blonde like Betty or like Sandy in Blue Velvet, and then there's the troubled, tortured brunette, the sexual brunette like Dorothy Valens in Blue Velvet, or the woman across the hall in Eraserhead, and of course Rita in Mulholland Drive, who chooses her name by looking at a reflection of a woman in the mirror. So it's an image reflected in another image that is then being presented to us as an image, and that is how she is constructing her identity, right? And that dyad sort of playing out at the same time as, like you said, all of that is there's only room for one girl at a time, right? This is the girl right now. Tomorrow, the girl will be a different girl. We are done with this girl right now. And it doesn't
Mhm.
matter who the girl is. There are forces out there that just decide this is the girl. Because when we see in the fantasy the Camilla Rhodes come out for her audition, like there isn't, and this isn't a knock on the performer or anything like that. Like there is nothing special. Like
Yeah.
there is nothing magnetic about this performer on screen. And that's deliberate, right? Like this is arbitrary. We just decide at this point. I
Mhm.
mean, it's like playground stuff where like everyone in school that year decides who the popular girl is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And next year it's going to be somebody different, right? And like there's no meeting that takes place. Like there's no committee that does
Yeah.
it. Just that's suddenly this year that's who's hot right now. Whether that is Naomi Watts at a certain moment or whether it's going to be okay, now it's Sydney Sweeney, now it's Scarlett Johansson, right? Particularly for women, I mean it's the notion of the it girl, right?
Mhm.
Like that's essentially what it is. And Hollywood has always had um, only so many it girls, and because of their approaches to age, they continually need a fresh new supply of the girl to choose from.
Yeah, and it's the present tense of the is, right? Seems
Hmm.
really important, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
this dream dump process produces this continuous present tense. But
Hmm.
in Lynchian terms, right, like the present is always interpenetrated by the future and the past, right? And it's
Hmm.
actually it takes a lot of violence and money
Yeah.
and institutional pressure to eradicate the specter of the present and the future, or I'm sorry, the specter of the past and the future from the
Hmm.
present to insist on us that no, what you need is this. This is what
Yeah.
you need right now, and you can't have anything else, and you don't want anything else.
Yeah, and look at the way that Hollywood usually does that when there is a new young ingenue, is there's going to be a Vanity Fair or Vogue photo shoot where they are styled in classic Hollywood glamour, where they are
Mm-hmm.
styled in some way to harken back to the Garbos or the Monroes or Joan Crawford or Betty Davis, like whoever it's going to be. They're trying to establish a sense of continuity by saying this new person is simply carrying on the tradition of Hollywood glamour that has been here since the beginning. It's a method of legitimizing
Mm-hmm.
and saying this is the girl now, right? This has always been the girl, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like
I was
it's a
just thinking
yeah,
that, right? Like in The
yeah,
Shining, you've always been the
yeah,
caretaker.
yeah,
You've
yeah,
always been the
exactly.
girl.
Exactly.
Huh.
Yeah, and that's how you get sort of like, oh, well, yeah, even in the movie, like who the girl is changes in the movie, and like it doesn't matter, right? This is the girl. We need a girl.
That's awesome. Ethan, did you have anything else you wanted to hit, or should we shift to Hoffman's?
Yeah, we should definitely ship to Hobbins. I mean, I really enjoyed the chapter, Mike, and I think it does a
Oh,
really
thank
good
you.
job of weaving together those, thinking about Mulholland Drive with, all the work with Nathaniel West, and I think some of the conversation that we've been getting to, I think it's a really important one around how there is this narrative about Hollywood, but like it is in essence a narrative about the United States as well. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it's worth considering. You have that one line that concludes the chapter about how like we're what's typically happening. Well, we're finding ourselves repeating "This is the girl" forever. And I just think I think it's a really good way of weaving that together. But yes,
Thank you.
Yeah.
with that said, Devin, what have we got going on this season? Devin, remind me, which season is this?
Geez.
I wanted to catch you off guard.
This is
It
the
is season
season.
5.
This is the
It is
season.
season 5.
This is the season.
Um,
Yeah.
so we're beginning season 5, and as always, we are debuting a new. Speaking about this is the girl, this is the rating system, right?
Excellent choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Always a new. Wait, so last season, who are we doing? Joe Pantoliano.
Joey Pants.
Well, we've decided to
Yeah.
go for, especially we just had our big Oscar show. We're thinking about Oscar winners, and also, unfortunately, doing an episode on David Lynch. We're thinking of filmmakers and actors and artists who have left us too soon. And so this season, we will be rating films in terms of Philip Seymour Hoffman's. So we will be asking you, Mike, to rate Mulholland Drive. Again, you don't have to necessarily give a certain number of Philip Seymour Hoffmans. You can really interpret it as always, however you wish. But
Yeah.
in terms of Philip Seymour Hoffman, how do we rate Mulholland Drive? Ethan, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. I think that what I'm going to do for Mulholland Drive is I'm going to give this Philip Seymour Hoffman from All My Sons, which is, of course, a stage production that he performed in at age 12. There's an Arthur Miller play, and it's sort of about the veneer, the kind of falsity of the American dream. And so it seemed very apropos of like, oh, this is all fake. There's just there's such fakeness immediately underneath the surface, and so I think that watching the film for the first time, but then Mike, also reading your chapter, like that just kept circling in my head, and so I think his performance as a 12-year-old child in All My Sons, but again, I do want to emphasize I'm just giving it one Philip Seymour Hoffman from All My Sons because if if you only see one Philip Seymour Hoffman, if you see it just one time, you're doing good. But if I would have given two, that means it would have been bad. So it did not do bad; it did good, and so I'm giving it just
Nice.
one. We're gonna
Yeah,
see
which we
one.
should add that we do see the cowboy twice in Mulholland Drive. So somebody
Of course.
did do
Yeah.
bad after
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yep.
so Ethan dodged that one.
And what about you, Devin?
Yeah, so I will be giving this multiple Philip Seymour Hoffmans.
Ooh.
And I'm gonna go to the like the Roger Ebert style and rate out of 4. And I will be giving this 4 Philip Seymour Hoffmans. I'll be giving it Philip Seymour Hoffman from The Talented Mr. Ripley. Right?
Oh, yeah.
A film that's thinking about changing identity, can you become another person?
Devin, you have a great episode on
Oh, of course.
Better Read
Yeah,
Than Dead
on the
about
novel.
talented. Yeah, about the
On
novel.
the novel,
Oh,
yeah,
what a great book.
Our sibling show, Better Read Than Dead. Check that out.
Yeah.
I will be giving this the Philip Seymour Hoffman from Almost Famous, of course,
Yes.
right? Trying to make it big. I will be giving this the Philip Seymour Hoffman from Capote, his Oscar-winning performance, which isn't my favorite, but I'm giving that in tribute to the fact that Naomi Watts should have won an Oscar for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, just, how can you rate a film that's dealing with such complex levels of metafiction and recursivity and mirrors and images reflecting each other, than giving it the Philip Seymour Hoffman from Synecdoche, New York, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say
yeah.
the
Within
Hunger
the play,
Games
within
Catching
the play.
Fire. Okay.
You know what? And just for shits and giggles, I'll give it both Hunger Games, Philip Seymour Hoffman. So 6 out of 4 for me. Legitimately one of the greatest movies of all time. I love it so much.
Well, so I
What
was going
about
to
you,
go a
Mike?
similar route to Devin. So I will see Devin 6 and
Mm.
raise Philip Seymour Hoffman in Scent of a Woman as the Adam Kesher sort of entitled asshole sort of performance. That's the
Ah.
first time I noticed that. Also, it's the first time I noticed Philip Seymour Hoffman in a movie when it came out. And I thought that guy's the best thing in this movie. Similar to how the audition scene that Naomi Watts does is sort of a breakout role for her, right? I'm also going to give it the Philip Seymour Hoffman in Hard 8 for being a character who's in 2 scenes but steals the entire movie. That's Billy Ray Cyrus in Mulholland Drive. Of course, you've got the Philip Seymour Hoffman as Scotty in Boogie Nights, the lovelorn, rejected queer
Yes.
sound man, to go in with Diane as the jilted lover in Mulholland Drive. Y'all need to keep score because I'm not keeping up with this. We've also got the Philip Seymour Hoffman as Brant in The Big Lebowski, as the sort of Betty, sunshiny, rule following, doing everything the right way. Then we've also got I was going to say the Lester Bangs, kind of like the whole movie is sort of the Lester Bangs character. You've got his character in Punch Drunk Love, the mattress man, secretly controlling everything behind the scenes, like Mr. Rourke,
Yeah.
right? That's that. I guess he's also got the sort of jilted lover or the sad sack in 25th Hour, trying to have a sort of relationship that maybe wouldn't be the thing to go for per se. And then I think. So what are we up to, like 12 here
I'm at
perhaps?
12.
We're at 12. Okay. And then
It's possible I miscounted, but I'm at
no,
12.
that's quite all right. And then another sort of homoerotic relationship we got to throw in there is the Philip Seymour Hoffman of The Master as Lancaster Dodd,
Yes.
who
His
is
best performance,
enamored
in my opinion.
with like Betty, is enamored with someone who just kind of wandered in off the street, who he loved. So yeah, that's a lucky 13. Philip Seymour Hoffman's greatest actor of all time.
Hell yeah.
And Mulholland Drive, one of the greatest films of all time. Not my favorite David Lynch film. I don't think it's his best, but I'm not going to argue with anyone who says it does, that it is. Sure, let's make it one of the top 10 movies of all time on the Sight and Sound poll.
Hell yeah.
All for it.
Hell yeah. Well, so we gotta ask. We can't let you go without asking what do you think his best movie is?
Well, I think Firewalk with Me may be his best movie, for a variety of
I
reasons.
mean, that's
It's
a
not
great pick.
It's still not my favorite of his, but I do think that over time that one is going to rise in people's rankings as his best movie. Blue Velvet is my favorite movie of all time, like period. But I think Fire Walk with Me, just the way that it is able to recontextualize an entire television series and the formal experimentation that's on display in that movie, and then the way it signals for his career, like you were alluding to earlier, Devin, of a shift away from male protagonists and toward female protagonists, and is a significant development in his career that I think starts with the revision that he's doing in Fire Walk with Me, and how even after that point, when he does return to male protagonists like in Lost Highway or The Straight Story, these are men who are completely broken by the kind of patriarchal order that his earlier work is sort of accepting as a given. And everything from Fire Walk with Me onward is really dissecting and eviscerating that and showing the trauma that has created for everyone involved.
Yeah. I mean, he really is a filmmaker where, I think he's the greatest. I think he's arguably the greatest, American artist of his era, across mediums. But really, it's like Blue Velvet, Eraserhead, Fire Walk with Me, Mulholland Drive. I can't question any of those at number one personally.
Right. Sure.
It really is just kind of like, I think it speaks less when you're making a choice with Lynch. It's really less about what's the better movie, and it's more like what aspect of Lynch's incredible artistic project and career do I personally want to emphasize right now?
Yeah.
Dune's great. Dune's great.
Yeah, because you put Eraserhead at number. Right? You heard it here first, folks. Breaking news. Because with Eraserhead, it's like kind of privileging this sort of, oh, this is something made by 5 people. Like this is an entirely handmade movie. Like for an industrial art form to have something like that is basically the complete expression of a single consciousness, right? That's a rare. I mean, you have like that, and you have like Meshes of the Afternoon, right? Like, I mean, there's very few things that do that, and so like I think you want to emphasize that kind of auteurist aspect of movies. You've got to pick you got to pick Eraserhead if you want to try to put it into the context of taking all that stuff and put it in a commercial genre exercise. You go with Blue Velvet, right? Similarly from Mulholland Drive, right? The kind of like walking the tightrope between art and commerce, right? The movie is doing that. Yes, I mean, like you said, it's all just like which aspect of filmmaking and of David Lynch's filmmaking do you want to privilege with your ranking?
Yeah. Well, Mike, thank you so much for joining us for this fantastic discussion. Thank you for sharing a bit of your fantastic book with us. It was such a pleasure to read. I can't wait to read the entirety of the book. So listeners, make sure to check out David Lynch's American Dreamscape by Mike Miley from Bloomsbury Press. Mike, is there anything else you wanted to plug about like where listeners can find you or anything like that?
So I guess I have a website, mikemiley.com, that has kind of links to all of the other projects, both past, present, and future. I'm eventually leaving Twitter pretty soon, but on Instagram I'm at Mike C. Miley, and on Blue Sky I'm just at Mike Miley. So those are places you can find me too.
Awesome. Well, Mike, as always, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Listeners, thank you for tuning in. We're really excited for season 5. We've got a lot of exciting episodes on the horizon. You can find us on Twitter at YourTallPod. We are now at Blue Sky at YourTallPod.
Devin was very
to post to the Blue Sky more
Devin
often.
sent me so many messages about how angry he was that as he was setting it up, because apparently he thought it was going to be a different experience than every other social media site. But it's like, I can't do You're Tall, but I'm standing in front of you at Blue Sky. I'm like, no, it's really long. That'd be a really long handle. I don't know what to tell you. Like, this never, no, I'm like, no, this literally happened for every other social media.
Well, I thought they weren't letting me do it as a display name, but I was incorrect. Of course, we're on Instagram at YourTallPod. Ethan's at Mathesippi. I'm at Stale Cooper. And as always,
hey, keep circling that drain, everyone.